Ladies and gentlemen, here he is. Woo! The sensation, Jason Gabon!
Danmark har fået en ny verdensmester. Mikkel Kessler. He's the fucking champion of the world. Mikkel, man.
The 23rd edition of the Box Asylum Nuthouse Podcast, brought to you by BoxAsylum.com. I'm your host Andy Patterson. With me today I've got Kurt Ward, Donny Baseball, Paul Webb, Steve Wellens and Alex Morris. The end of the era is finally upon us, guys. It's great news. The third of the century is over. All the chat is now going to die hopefully in the next week or two. Really mixed receptions actually with regards to the fight. You know, the big Mayweather fans are saying that, you know, it was a great performance, which it was. Pacquiao, I thought, mentally gave up after the 9th round there last night. Gave him 2 rounds out of the 12, 118 to 110 to Mayweather in my scorecard last night. For rounds 4 was a clear round to Manny, and I thought round 6 was, he probably just shaded it. But other than that, Mayweather kept him at distance most of the fight, was comfortable on the ropes, got out at distance at all times. Fans were booing, obviously. I don't know what they expected of Floyd Mayweather. You know, anybody with some sense would have known and told you that, you know, it was going to be this kind of fight. And to be honest, it's just one of those super fights again, guys. I'll go to you first, Kurt. That just hasn't delivered again, hasn't it?
No, I was saying yesterday that, you know, whatever happens, even though I wanted Pacquiao to win, you know, whatever happened, was hoping for a good fight where, you know, there's a lot of people tuning in for maybe the first time or maybe the first time in a few years, and if they could watch the fight and enjoy it, you know, we're going to get a lot of new fans to the sport, and it's another a super fight. It was never going to live up to the hype, but it's another super fight now where probably more fans are probably going away thinking that was rubbish. You know, a lot of them have stayed up till 5 a.m. and, you know, there's been a lot of criticism of Mayweather today, a lot of criticism of Pacquiao as well, but, you know, from Mayweather's point of view, I mean, I don't really like the guy, but you got to say, well, what he did is what he always done, and that's since he started his career. You know, he's won the way he wins, and he doesn't care how he looks. It's all about getting hitting and not getting hit, and he does it perfectly. And there's no one really who does it as good as him, and he's not going to change now when he's got to this far in his career. And, you know, why should he? It was on Pacquiao last night to make it an entertaining fight, to try and force Mayweather to fight his fight, and he just couldn't do it, whatever reason. I know they're coming out with the injury excuse and all this, but I don't like that. You know, you went into the ring, there's no excuses now. You know, you lost to the better man, and there's no shame in that. You know, Pacquiao's had a fantastic career, as has Mayweather, and, you know, losing to another fantastic fighter, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think Manny should probably now retire. I know there's talk about him fighting Juan Manuel again or someone else, but I just think he's done now. He didn't look, the hunger's not there, I don't think now. He lost, and that has probably ended his career in my opinion. Floyd will have his next fight in September, and I think maybe he should call it a day as well, and let some others, other guys step up and see what they can do. I think both, I don't think, even though Mayweather has got more left in him and he could still go on for a couple of years, I think easily, because he's so good. I just think he's done everything he wanted. He's crossed that last thing off his list, and that was to defeat Pacquiao. And I think Pacquiao's excuses are just pure lame now. He lost to the better guy. Just to say that, Floyd did what he had to do, but you got to be honest, no one was really expecting a toe-to-toe war. We got what we thought would happen if Floyd did what he can do, and Pacquiao couldn't adapt and make it into his kind of fight. If it was a dull fight, that means Mayweather's won easily. But I don't think much criticism can go on to him, in my opinion.
Just leaving his comments post-fight in the ring, Donny will go on to his actual comments after in the press conference, basically claiming the shoulder injury. We've discussed this many times before about fighters using excuses, injury excuses, volcano eruptions, etc. and all this sort of stuff. But Hayes used it. We've had Frotch using it. No fighter enters the ring 100% fit, and to start using excuses now, we gave Darren Barker a hard time for going to Germany, trick hip, etc. He got blown out in 2 rounds. He did get some sort of abuse as well for basically taking the fight injured. I don't think Pacquiao should be getting off scot-free here now. He shouldn't be using the injury as an excuse for getting basically outclassed.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that like you go in and you fight, like Kurt said, and if you're good enough to go in and fight, then you have to accept the consequences. And what I will say though is that if he did go into the ring injured though, for that kind of money, I think maybe I can understand. Because if Floyd got pissed off or something and didn't, decided he didn't want to fight or something, that $80 million would have evaporated. So when you got that kind of money on the line, it's I'm not going to say he cheated the fans, and certainly he wasn't nearly as injured as Darren Barker was. Barker was actually fucked up. He actually couldn't fight. Pacquiao gave a good account of himself and did win some rounds last night, including rounds like, I think you said 4, 6, and 9 were all
4 and 6 were the only 2 I gave him.
Yeah, 4, 6, and 9 though were unanimously scored to Pacquiao on the official judges' cards, I believe. So all 3 scored to Pacquiao for those 3 rounds, and then I think the injury excuse is one that you probably trot out when you thought you were going to do better, and maybe if they could sell people on the idea of, well, we didn't see the real Pacquiao, they're setting up the rematch, who knows? But I have to chalk that up to that's what they're attempting to do.
I like to remember actually who said that this fight was going to be like Hagler Hearns. Someone mentioned that again.
Howard Hopkins said it was going to be like
Hopkins. Hopefully, really messed his wires up, didn't he?
And you just got to say as well, if this was the other way around, it was Floyd who had lost, and Floyd was using this shoulder injury as excuse, no one would take it. Everyone would be shitting on him. So you got to credit
you got to give Pacquiao the shit for it. As Kurt rightly says there, Paul. If Floyd came out with that excuse, he would have got shit on. But you got to shit on Pacquiao as well. There's no excuses in this game. Paul, is his mic still playing up?
He's got a shoulder injury.
He stayed up last night, he's tired.
Okay. Steve, mate, I'll pass it on to you.
Yeah, what was the question, or do you want me to just talk?
Just talk, mate. At the end of the day, as well, as I say as well, you got to give Pacquiao some amount of shit for basically now claiming the injury and stuff. Some fans are now going to be feeling cheated out of that. Especially the ones that's paid $350,000 for a ticket.
I know. Well, I'd be gutted if I'd have even paid £20 for the Sky Sports pay-per-view, which I'm thankful that I didn't. But I can see both sides, like Kurt and Donny have already said beforehand. If he's injured, he shouldn't fight, but then whenever there's this much amount of money on the line and whatever, then you can understand why he has fought with an injury. I just thought he was too tentative, whether there was a shoulder injury or not. He stood off and just waited for too long, especially in the early rounds. His best chance was going to be to sort of put it on Floyd early, try and set a pace, but in the first round he was very slow and he wasn't cutting off the ring at all, and then I thought by the second or the third he might start getting in there and blocking off Floyd's escape routes, but he just wasn't able to do it. And I was impressed with Mayweather's jab. I thought his jab was excellent. It's something which he's definitely got in the arsenal when he needs to use it, and he was keeping Manny off balance and dealing with him very well with the jab, and his movement was just superior. He was timing Manny's sort of cumbersome attacks, just timing again, round after round, and then whenever he needed to, he even dropped in a little bit of Klitschko-style jab and grab.
I was going to say, actually, do you think he should have had a point off? I mean, he got one from like rounds 2 through till 5, and he seemed to stop doing it around about the 8th and 9th.
Yeah, he did. It wasn't as excessive as it could have been. So I mean, I watched the fight with no sound on. I didn't know the fans were booing actually, although I'm not surprised. I listened to it without any commentary and didn't get the impression that he needed a point deducted. But if he'd have kept on doing it, he might have been. I thought he fought quite fairly. I didn't see the elbows being dropped in too much, which I know was a point of contention beforehand. But he was just superior to Manny, and Manny just looked like an old man in there. I think he's just had his day. And of course they're both old men. I mean, where do we go from here? Who's going to be the next person to sort of pick up the torch after Floyd packs it in? I think he can go on. He showed that he's in great condition and obviously the most skilled boxer of his generation or whatever. But who is there left to fight now? He's not going to move up and take on the likes of Golovkin and that. And so I would like to see him have one more fight and then maybe jack it in. But Manny, I don't see what he has left to prove, or unless he has monetary issues, I would like to see him jack it in as well. But all in all, yeah, superior performance by Floyd, but just left the whole thing feeling a little bit underwhelmed.
Yeah, definitely, mate. I mean, obviously, I know what you're laying reference to. I didn't really want to go here because I'll bring you in, Paul, now to see if your mic's working. I didn't really want to go here because some are going to say, well, you kind of use this excuse, whoever wins, if the fight was 5 years, it should have happened 5 years ago or whatever, but, people are going to mention it. Paul, last night we saw what we think was a shell of Manny Pacquiao. The foot movement wasn't what we expected it to be, or wasn't what I expected it to be anyway. Probably just, now, definitely a short fighter. He's claiming he's not a short fighter, but do you think it's time for him to retire now?
No, I agree with him. I don't think he's a shot fighter. I just think he really struggled to get near Floyd Mayweather. I think it would have been the same 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It's very easy to always come up with an excuse as to why, well, if something's not worked and that style of fighting hasn't worked, well, is it his knees, is it his arms, is it something about him that he wasn't able to put his game plan across against Mayweather? And I just think he didn't. He fought exactly as he wanted to fight. It just couldn't get to him. You saw him lunging in. When do you ever see Pacquiao having to jump into shots like that before? Fighters are always there for him to hit. And we spoke last week and we were saying about Pacquiao needs to average 80 or 90 punches a round. I mean, he threw 450 punches over 12. And it wasn't because he wasn't trying to. I mean, the effort was there. He just was throwing against thin air. He was catching gloves. He was hitting the ropes. He just struggled because he was up against someone who was just much quicker. And as much as, again, I know a lot of people aren't big fans of Floyd, but just much more skillful than Pacquiao ever was. Whether you can say Pacquiao's a better fighter and everything else that goes with it, but he was in the ring with someone who was better last night, and I think it would have been exactly the same 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I thought 4 or 5 years ago it would have been far more. I mean, you could even see Mayweather even maybe stopping him at some point, but he just doesn't seem to want to take the risks. I mean, he could have stepped in there last night as well as, and this is why some people won't give him his due regard as an all-time great, or where they're going to sanction him in the all-time great list, Alex. It's the fact that he will not take risks and he will not push for a stoppage.
Well, he's just obviously a riding bastard. He cheated last night, he held on too much, and all the other excuses. Manny's shoulder's too hurt, and he'll win the rematch, obviously. But, a bit more seriously with that, he was excellent last night. He performed very well. The shoulder thing was a ready-made excuse for Pacquiao. Either way, I think that if it was really that bad, and don't take the fight, simple as that. You can't go into the fight and then use it as an excuse afterwards, because no one's going to take you seriously, as you guys have said. It's just a bit embarrassing, especially once you claim that you've won the fight as well. So I said it before we went on there. You think you won the fight with an injury. It's mentalist behaviour, and he's just really, it's hard to not endear yourself to the fans when your opponent is Floyd Mayweather, but when you're talking shite like that, you're going to piss a lot of people off, unfortunately. Obviously, Floyd hasn't endeared himself well to the fans, but he never had that intention. His intention is to win and get his money, and he did exactly that last night. He was just completely on point in some of those rounds. When the rounds that he won, I made the point last. He was so dominant in. He controlled the range, he controlled the pace. He just toying with Manny. The rounds that Manny won, he did really well in, but he scraped most of the rounds. He made Floyd think, but Floyd did think very quickly, and he controlled it very quickly. And I think that is ultimately the biggest difference between the two. It's the the experience and the ring IQ and the smarts of Floyd. It's just on a completely different level. He knows how to deal with every situation. Like, he got hurt in the fourth, covered up well, high guard, took a few to the body, but he was absolutely fine afterwards. And he carried on with what he was doing. And he should be commended for it. He is, absolutely an excellent fighter. And again, the biggest, to go back to your original point, the biggest shame is the fact that he is such a good fighter, but he still hasn't bothered, or not bothered, but not wanted to test it, against the absolute best throughout his career, and it's a damn bloody shame.
As we'll come back onto some more of this talk, actually, because we've got quite a few Twitter questions here. But joining us on the line live from Vegas is one of our listeners. We've got William on the phone. Oh, he was on the line there. William, are you there, mate?
He's dropped off the call.
He was on the line, definitely, then just dropped off. I think he's live from Vegas, so we might just jump on to one of the Twitter questions while we're waiting on him.
Oh, he's back.
Is he back? William, are you there, mate?
He's just loading up now.
So he's got the TMT gear on. This will be good.
Do we have Brian King coming on?
Yeah, I think he's listening in anyway.
Yeah, he's on the chat going mental with his TMT bollocks.
Yeah, we'll just ignore him.
No word from William yet, right?
He's
Okay.
still loading up, it says, so still connecting.
If he drops off this time, we'll just get on with it. What was your scorecard last night, Donny, Paul and Steve?
I had it 118, 110. I thought that was fine. I gave the fourth and the sixth. I didn't give the ninth. The fourth I thought was the clearest. I think, but I said what I think ruined it. Well, what ruined Pacquiao that fight was after he had the best round of his fight, round 5, Floyd came out and just took it as though it wasn't even bothered at all. And I think that's what caused more of the problems. But yeah, 118, 110. I thought it was one of the easiest fights to score that hasn't been a complete shutout that I've ever known. The rounds were just so clear for one or the other in the particular rounds that were scored. So very easy, 118, 110 for me.
Same, me the same. 118, 110, yeah.
I had it 116, 112 actually. I gave Pacquiao 4-6-9, and I gave him another one of the middle rounds, I think. I
actually seen someone put up a scorecard 116, 115 to Pacquiao.
Wasn't that?
I've seen a couple of 115, 113s for Pacquiao as well.
Yeah.
Which I mean, you just can't. You can't make a case for him winning 7 rounds.
Skip Bayless, who's like the biggest Floyd hater you'll probably find outside this podcast sometimes. Actually, he even had it 115, 113 to Pacquiao.
He's fucking someone from Bad Left Hook had it.
He's on the angel dust, that one.
He was. I mean, Skip Bayless is trolling basically. Like, I mean, that's just.
We'll probably get onto it, but the media coverage in a lot of corners for this fight has been absolutely abysmal. And like I said, ESPN First Take, Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith are a very good example of that. They've been shocking all week.
Well, they've just been an embarrassment. They've been an embarrassment to the sport, haven't they? The bickering and the fake drama they were trying to create. That Stephen A. Smith trying to make a big deal out of horsehair gloves or something, and he was trying to say that horsehair wears down the knuckles a lot quicker, so Manny's gloves will be hitting a lot harder.
Panicking about it.
Yeah, he was like making a huge fuss about it, like
drama.
Yeah, he was trying to say, basically that Manny was doing a fucking margarito. Basically, it's just bang out of order, and it's causing fake drama for the sake of it. They're fucking clueless, the pair of them, and I'm glad they fucked off on the sport.
But this is what happens when you get, like I said, it's not the casuals, it's the wrong word, but when you get people outside of the normal sports world talking about boxing. And again, sometimes you can get it really good. Like, I mean, BBC News did a feature on the fight at about 10 o'clock on Saturday, and it was really good. And I remember thinking afterwards, that was pretty decent. And then you see some of the stuff that's been out, and it's just been absolutely abysmal.
Well, Williams haven't promised to join that call, so what we'll do is, guys, let's jump into Twitter questions. But First one comes in for LDN box and stuff. Paul, you maybe the best one to take up this one because you're also talking about the press coverage. So you can maybe actually talk about the press coverage in this question. But is Mayweather Pacquiao now finally killed off pay-per-view?
No, no, not. It's the opposite. I mean, it will do potentially in America, and I think a lot of people were saying it wouldn't, but I think it will clear 4 million. I think that's how big it is. I think if you look at how big Mayweather Alvarez was, and that did 2.4 reportedly, this is double. This is much bigger than that. Not even comparable. So, and in England, I mean, if you see your Facebook and you look at Twitter and people that aren't always that into boxing, and the amount of people that were having parties, staying up till 5 a.m. It was a huge pay-per-view event. And no, I mean, I hate pay-per-view more than anybody, but this doesn't deter pay-per-view at all. I mean, the American model of the pay-per-view might be changing because so many fighters are now going on the terrestrial TV over there. But no, pay-per-view on both sides of the Atlantic is alive and well.
Was there some kind of problem with the pay-per-views? I heard somewhere wasn't working
I
or something?
think it was a surge of buys late on. I think they were just trying to delay it until they got many through as possible. I think,
Yeah, they were saying they were having problems, but I think that was just them saying we'll wait on and get more people to buy, basically.
Well, Sky were buggers, because again they put their 25 quid up and then they put it up to 27 last night because they had again similar sort of problems where I think in America it was, and Donnie might correct me, there was a Comcast I think, and Viacom, the two of them that were having problems with getting people on, and it's the usual thing. Like I said, the amount of people yesterday I saw buying pay-per-view on the day, it's the biggest no-no in the world. Just buy it the day before, unless you're not going to wait 10 minutes for this fight and go, yeah, actually I want to watch this.
But it's the casuals though, isn't it? That is the casual approach. You think, oh, I've just gone out for a few drinks, let's go back and buy the fight. And when you're pissed up, you don't really care if you're paying an extra £5 or £7 or a tenner.
Still not a patch on the old H Azora when there's about 4 people in the Box Nation office trying to answer all the pay-per-view calls.
It wasn't just 10 quid over here. It was $100.
Well, yeah.
It's terrible. The technical glitches are terrible, though, aren't they? I suffered from one myself. I didn't think the stream was ever going to come back up again halfway through. But
yeah, well,
I did struggle myself actually. Team stream. I was watching a lot of Russian and French streams, but I did manage to see the fight.
I got up at 12:15. When I came downstairs, there was no internet access for 2.5 hours. I was almost raging last night. Ended up having to buy it.
Oh, you didn't, did you?
I had to, mate, because I didn't know how long the internet was going to be. I phoned up Virgin Media and it says it would be down to at least 4 a.m. I didn't want to take the chance. I ended up having to fucking pay it.
I only FaceTimed it for you.
On the line next, we've got Asif. Now, Asif's actually on the line. He's missing out a wife's birthday party. I believe he's going to be basically facing down the barrel end of a divorce. Asif, mate, give us the breaking news at this time.
The breaking news is that the wife's gone to Manchester with a mate, a few guys and girls. So, but I think I'll be okay. I don't want
to. You can just open that wallet and blow away the cobwebs. You can give her the credit card. Let her have a good spend,
Damn Ramesh, she's got my bank card. I'm the one who works. I'm the one bringing in the wage into the house.
Hashtag pray for Asif's marriage. Asif, give me your take on the fight, mate, and what was your scorecard?
My scorecard was 118-110. Now, if I remember last week on the podcast, I did say it was gonna be a stinkfest, yeah? So
yeah.
It was an exciting fight because of the magnitude of the fight. Like I think I did a small video today which nobody bothered to retweet, but I mentioned that if that
retweet that
if that fight was a Frankie Gavin and Bradley Ski, if you actually watch it, that fight probably had a bit more excitement. But because of the
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, that's not.
You know what I mean? Because of who the boxers were. That was what gave it more excitement because of the long history behind it. So I think it was a clinical performance by Mayweather. It was what I expected because, like I said, Mayweather people do appreciate Mayweather, but I still think there's a lot of people who don't appreciate Mayweather with regards to his skills, with regards to his defensive capabilities. Even after beating Saul Alvarez, that was a big fight. Let's not deny that. Before this fight, that was the biggest fight, and there was a lot of hype around the fight. And people were saying, when are you going to fight a bigger guy? He fought Saul Alvarez, and he beat him clinically. So everyone is beaten. He's done well, and you know, as a lot of people, I was extremely disappointed with the way Pacquiao handled himself after the fight, because all the last 5 years building up to the fight, he was trying to be this good guy, honest guy, God-fearing guy, being Mr. Nice, But then after the fight, his reaction was so loser. He blamed her. He tried to say he won the fight, but he couldn't even get the words out. Even when he lost to Marquez or to Bradley, he still managed to get the words out. But in this fight, he couldn't get his words out after the fight because he didn't know what to say. So it tried to play the robbery card, and obviously that didn't go down too well. And now he's playing the injury card. Now I know the committee or whoever they are have said that Pacquiao's team never told them about the injury. That's why they denied the injection. So I think that's a fault on Pacquiao's team's part. Do I believe there's an injury? Not really, because he seemed to be doing quite good in the warm-up.
Is that your professional opinion as a doctor?
That's my professional opinion, that the patient is making shit up. Okay.
So basically, as if he should have got a doctor's line to sign him off work.
Exactly. He needs to flip in. Let's just say I won't give the guy a sick note just for that. But
well, Asif,
yeah.
Just want to ask you, mate. I mean, obviously we've got a question, and I'll need to get the guy's name up in a minute. But who next for Mayweather? Because in the days, I think as a fan of the sport, you've got to be looking at the likes of Khan, Brook, Thurman.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting because now are people going to say, "Oh, who's Mayweather going to be ducking now?" I'm going to see there's going to be a few people that are going to say, "Oh, Mayweather's ducking Thurman, Mayweather's ducking, this guy, that guy." So there'll always be that small group of people about. Who will he fight next? I think he's got the right now to choose who he wants to fight. If he wants to fight Rod Halker, let him fight Rod Halker. I think he's earned it personally. But
fuck off.
Not if he's charging. Not if he's charging.
You know what I mean? Look, personally, I'd like.
I've not heard that name in a while.
Personally, I'd like to see him fight Khan, but obviously Khan's not. That'll be difficult. So I think I won't be surprised if he pulls the Miguel Cotto fight for September, or I won't be. Or the other option is, well, who's he got? He's got Keith Thurman. Is Keith Thurman big enough for him? I don't know. Or then he light welterweights out there. Danny Garcia, maybe. You know what I mean? So
I see that fraud Khan start to open his mouth again and stuff. I wish he would really just do one and keep it shut. But Asif, before we let you go, I'd like to have this final question. What was more better last night, Mayweather, Pacquiao, or Klitschko against Povetkin? That's what you're thinking, eh?
Which was...
Like, would I rather die in a fire or fucking drown?
I'd rather get strangled.
You know what? I'll be honest. I guess I was more excited about this fight, given the magnitude. You know, what I mean, I kind of appreciate. I kind of appreciate boxing as a whole. Other divisions. So I will say this was a bit. I think obviously the Klitschko fight, second fight, was a bit of a disaster. But this wasn't too bad. I mean, I enjoyed it. I think a lot of people enjoyed it, especially people who know the history. People who know boxing, they would have enjoyed the fight. And I just have to end my Bellew of the week. It's not actually a person, it's a group of people. Now, it's not, don't take it the wrong way. My Bellew of the week are not the Manny Pacquiao fans. It's specifically the Floyd Mayweather haters.
It's a lot of people.
Well, like I said, there's one group of people who was Manny Pacquiao fans who wanted to win, and one group were Mayweather haters.
I'm both there. I'm a Manny Pacquiao fan and a Floyd hater.
Yeah, well, that's your choice.
I've got one.
I'll shoot the question for Asif before he goes.
I've got one final question. I'm going to ask everyone this: was it worth the wait?
Was it worth the wait?
Yeah, of course it was. I mean,
Yeah. Look at the record. Look at the record. It's gonna smash all the records. So I think that shows it was worth the wait.
All right.
No, it wasn't worth the wait, in my opinion. After 5 rounds, you kind of knew where it was going to go.
I see. That's like Eddie
wasn't going to
Hearn saying
pick up.
that the production was good on the last pay-per-view, though, isn't it?
It's a bit like Lewis Tyson, isn't it?
Everybody wanted to know. Look, everybody wanted to know for the last 5-6 years. You know, who is the man? Who is the man of the generation? You know what I mean? Everybody wanted to know, and now we got the answer. So you know, we can put it to bed now, and we can move on in boxing, and try and see which of the fight takes 5-6 years to make. That's all, really.
No worries, Steve. Cheers for that, mate.
Sorry, mate. Cheers, mate. Right.
Thanks.
Cheers, Steve.
Cheers.
Yes.
And get the wallet out. Buy your wife some flowers. Fuck's
Yeah.
sake.
Yeah, that marriage is really going to be down the toilet shortly, isn't it?
He's supposed to be
eventually
money
say-
team as well, and he's fucking proper skin.
Fucking stingy team. No, it's like Lewis Tyson, you know, even though Tyson was well past it, and I'm not saying these two guys yesterday are any weird like that, but Tyson was well past it. Lewis was facing the end. It's a fight that needed to happen, and just to see them in the ring together, you know, something that I never thought would happen. Yeah, even if the fight wasn't, you know, exciting or anything, it was the way most expected it to be, and you know, it was just great that we finally got a fight. I mean, it would have been horrible if both retired and not having to see the fight happen. And you know, whatever happened, we got the fight. So I think it was worth it in that sense.
Just trying to look through some of these Twitter questions. Quite a few here. I'm just trying to break out the Floyd ones because there's quite a few comments here about Khan and Cloner there last night.
Got any more callers?
And I really want to go on the topic of Khan at some point as well.
Oh, I'm sure Donny's just bursting to get on that.
But just more on the topic actually, who Floyd's going to fight next in September stuff. I mean, I would like to see Pacquiao retire because, well, hopefully last night finally pays off his tax debts and he doesn't need to fight again. Surely he's going to have to squirrel some of that money away. We're all expecting the pay-per-view record of like I'm expecting 4 million at least. So you're talking like a good, we see get 40% off the pay-per-view as well. So, you know, fair play to him. Hopefully he gets that squirreled away. And
Where does all his money go? Does he piss it away, or what's he?
No,
His
he election
buys
campaigns. He
Yeah.
spends a lot of money on those governor campaigns.
Oh, is that where it's all going?
Yeah. He gives a lot of it away.
Well, he's campaigning a lot of, you know, Catholic things, isn't he? And
But he pays a lot of people's fucking medical bills and
Yeah.
stuff like that. People come to me, we'll just give them money.
No, not only that too, but also, I mean, the thing in politics and the way you make friends is
Brown envelopes.
yeah, well that yeah, but also help and run and fund other people's campaigns. So the way that he's enjoyed so much success in Philippine politics so quickly is because he hasn't just funded his own campaigns, but he's also funded the campaigns and won a lot of allies that way. So I think he spent tens of millions of dollars doing that. I know that.
And for all of his fights, he brings about 400 family members over, friends, dogs, chihuahuas, everything. I mean, he's paying for all of them, putting them all in
$2.5
the
million.
house.
$2.5 million in tickets he fucking forked out some of the people.
I didn't see his mom there. Was she running about?
Ah,
Oh,
she was,
yeah,
yeah.
They
She
they
there?
tried to not let her in, but nah, they couldn't stop her getting in.
She'd get in one way or the other.
Yes.
Anyway, more to the question about Mayweather's next fight, and Rocco's asking, for instance, you know, whoever Floyd's going to fight in September is going to be massive, especially if he's going to retire, etc. But
that's 49
with a
and
gas-
0 as well, isn't it?
yeah, but would the Garcia fight sell? Would anybody buy it? Donnie, you're in America. Would you buy that if you had in America?
I'd go out to a bar maybe to watch it, but I don't think it would sell. No.
I mean, see, in reality, I mean, who I want to fight, and the reality is, I really don't know. I can't second guess it anymore. I mean, he's running out of opponents that says, I think I'd be happy with either Khan, Brook, Thurman, and there was one other person I was thinking about.
He'll fight someone because it's a guaranteed payday. I mean, he's getting what minimum of 30 million. So
Yeah, the thing is though, the reason why I don't think it'll be Khan is because if I recall correctly, the Showtime deal is done in September.
yeah, that's
And
his sixth fight.
That was a deal. I mean, sure, it made him a lot of money, but in other words, if you're only contractually bound to pay someone $32 million guaranteed, you know, through September, I don't see them voluntarily extending that. And so long as Khan won't fight in September, and he obviously won't, then I don't see it happening personally.
So you're insinuating that Floyd is ducking Amir Khan?
No, I'm not saying he's ducking him at all. No, I'm just saying that the way it works out is that Floyd's going to want to take that next fight probably in September, because I don't think Showtime is obligated to pay him $32 million guaranteed money after that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they may, he may have another fight or something, but I don't think that when he signed that deal, it was 30 months, up to 6 fights in 30 months, and like $32 or $33 million guaranteed each time. So, once that 30-month window expires, they don't have to give him all that guaranteed money anymore.
Well, if he does go for 50-0, then let's say, who do you think? Do you think it will be on Showtime? Do you think it'll fuck off to HBO maybe?
Who knows? I mean, I guess he'd probably go to the highest bidder. But he knows that if he fits another fight in before the end of September, it's if he fits another fight in before the end of September, he still gets that $32 million guaranteed. But he doesn't have that guaranteed money after it. And like you said, after this fight, unless it's something really compelling, it might not sell that well now because the intrigue is gone. A lot of people bought Floyd and Manny fights, for several years on the assumption that after this fight, they'll finally fight each other, right? So, I mean, the fact that we were interested in each guy's individual fights against other opponents was largely, all building up to this, I would say. And, then people started getting annoyed. They didn't believe they would fight. So, that's when the pay-per-view sales started dropping off. And then, what do you know? They fought each other, right? But now that intrigue factor is gone, I just don't know. I mean, I really think that they could probably sell a rematch. Obviously, they wouldn't do the kind of numbers they did, but I think it might be the best-selling fight out there for each guy.
I don't know, man. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I've seen the backlash to this, and people are just raging about this. They think that either Floyd ran all night and it was a shit fight, or Manny didn't try and they're not interested in it. So I don't think
opinions are over the place regards to that, actually, aren't they?
I don't think anyone really thought it was a competitive or interesting fight, and that's there's no controversy either, apart from if you're going to believe Manny's bullshit shoulder. But even people then are saying well, whatever, you're just making excuses. Casual fans aren't going to be tuning in for this again.
Coming on next, we've got Rocco. Rocco, I was just getting ready to read out one of your next questions, mate, but you're on the line now anyway, so give us your take on the fight last night, mate. Was you satisfied?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I said to you last week on the thing, I mean, I'm a big Pacquiao fan, but I said to you last week that I thought Floyd would win. It went exactly how I think most of us, I feared it would go, but I knew, like, he'd win. That's why I bet on him to win. Yeah, I mean, he's proved he's the best of the generation, right? He's brilliant performance, completely nullified Pacquiao. No arguments there. He won 9-3, 8-4. I mean, 2 of the judges give it 8-4. But if you look at that, I haven't seen the exactly which rounds. I don't know if that's been released yet. Who won what rounds? But on the judges' cards, but if it was 8-4, then at round 10 it was 6-4. They must have had it at 6-4 because he definitely won the last 2, I think. So it just shows you if Pacquiao had been able to pull something out of the bag late, he could, how close it could have been to a draw. Not that he deserved it, and I'm a Pacquiao fan, so I wanted him to win. But I'm objective. I'm not biased. I watched it. Like really, I look at it from. Even though I wanted him to win, I look at it and think, well, I look at it objectively, basically, and I look at it. I think, well, did the other guy? If I was supporting the other guy, would I think he won that round? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, no dispute at all with the thing. Defensive masterclass, completely nullified him, but. I just wanted to say that, when these big fights like this, I don't know what question you was going to read out, and I'd read it out.
It was that one. It was the big one about when was the last time a big fight lived up to expectation in terms of boxing excitement?
What would you say? What would you guys say to that?
We were actually discussing this before we went on live, and it was a hard question. Even because I think we discussed it for like 5-10 minutes. Kurt and Alex and I. The one that always springs to my mind goes back to 1980 was Leonard Duran won. Other than that, the other ones Lewis Tyson, for instance. I mean, they were shelling themselves. Tyson was past his prime.
Holyfield.
Yeah. Clay against Hay against Klitschko was poor. You could say Calzaghe Kessler probably lived up to the hype a little bit, for such a big fight.
Again, like I was saying earlier, it just depends on what you define as a super fight. I mean, there's super fights, to us hardcores, as it were. The Brandon Rios, Mike Alvarado fight, the first one, we really hyped that up because we knew that was going to be a fucking amazing fight, and it was, but it wasn't a fight that really captured the imagination of the casuals, unfortunately. And I think that's basically what your question is: what fight really, went out there and just blew people away? And the pay-per-view stars at the moment, Floyd, and he's not in those sorts of fights, unfortunately. And Manny, the guys that he fights, he either beats them up completely to domination and they don't fight back. I mean,
Hatton and Zoo as well. I mean, the whole event, and Hatton winning as well and putting.
Would
on
you say
his life.
Marquez Pacquiao 4?
Yeah. That's the sort of fight I was talking about, boys. So I'm talking about, like you say, you said Rios Alvarado, and someone, I think it was Paul McAllister, said back earlier, I'm not sure if it was Paul actually, it might be no, it was LDM boxing, he's saying Matisse, Provodnikov, but that wasn't a big pay-per-view fight. That was like a trade fight, like the old woman in Tesco's, like they always say, wouldn't know, your old nan, she wouldn't know Provodnikov. Do you know what I mean? The sort of the big, as you say, Hay, Klitschko, things like that, the big, Oscar Floyd, the big pay-per-view fights where, and obviously Floyd is the master of that genre, like the big pay-per-view fights. I think you'd all agree, they regularly, like the casuals tune in.
They don't deliver. The super fights just don't deliver. I mean, as I said off air as well, if you go back to 75, Ali, Frazier 3, that wasn't expected to be a great fight because, especially the Ali camp, they believe that Frazier was shot. Not many people actually gave him a chance going into that fight, I don't think. And it turned out to be one of the greatest fights of all time. You just really don't know. You just need probably you need a style to gel it, and B, you need a guy who's willing to stand in there and make it an exciting fight. Simple as. You can put on a boxing masterclass. It is great to see at times, but sometimes when you get the casual involvement, all these superstars get involved and stuff, you want to see an excellent, entertaining fight.
Do you think then, Andy, that the fact that this fight was transpired the way it did, do you think it will be detrimental to the health of the sport going forward? I mean, it's even more than a super fight in that there was so much riding on it. Do you think the sport will suffer within the next few years because of the way it turned out?
Well, they said that as well about Sky when the Hay Klitschko fight after that happened, didn't they? I mean, Sky cancelled pay-per-view for a couple of years and brought it back. I think pay-per-view's here to stay. It will be interesting to see what Floyd does when he retires regards to the promotion of his own fighters. I mean, I imagine he'll go to the PBC, these Mayweather promotion fighters, etc. So you maybe don't see much.
Canelo Cotto would still sell 1 million pay-per-views tomorrow. You know what I mean? So.
Who?
I mean, it's not dead. I mean, as long as you could be doing those kind of numbers.
Yeah, but the thing is, as Steve says, there's no star coming through. I mean, I mentioned this on the forum a couple of weeks back. Al Heyman, for all his intentions and stuff, and all these fighters he's signing, he still hasn't really got a superstar or a promising superstar or someone coming up behind Floyd to take over the mantle. There's just no one there. There's no one there ready to beat him, to take the mantle off him. And there's no one there to fill the void when he retires. I mean, Cloner's been exposed. Thurman, the jury's still out to a certain extent. Khan's fragile as shit. Santa Cruz you can forget about. Stevenson's over 35, over 36, 37 or whatever it is. There's no one coming through just now. So I think you're going to have to look at the thing as well as you maybe need to look at the little guys, maybe like Gonzalez, maybe HBO, push him. But maybe Kovalev, I really don't know. There's no pay-per-view attraction coming through just now. And
Crawford is going to be the one. Crawford, Canelo, yeah, those two will be the ones.
But then, Canelo obviously needs the fighters in because Canelo's what was his pay-per-view numbers for Angulo? 300, 400,000?
Yeah, he needs the Cotto fight, doesn't he? He needs the Cotto fight.
He needs a breakout performance. I mean, Trout, he won the fight. I had that draw. Many people thought he maybe just sneakily lost the fight. I think Canelo still needs that breakout performance against a top name.
Yeah, he needs a performance as well to erase the sort of memories of the Mayweather fight as well in the casual fans' eyes, because, I mean, you couldn't really sell him as a big star at the moment, given the fact that, you know, he looked like a bit of a lardy plodder against Mayweather. I mean, we all know why he did, but if he's going to take up the Mayweather mantle, the fact that he got schooled out of sight by him doesn't bode well. I mean, that would be the concern I would have. I mean, I'm willing to eat humble pie. I thought Broner was going to be the one who was going to come and take over. I mean, I know I look a bit stupid now, like, but that's what I thought.
Do you know what, though, Steve? Me and Kurt was talking about this the other day, and Kurt put it bang on, that, like, Broner is just a clone of Floyd. He's seen what Floyd's done, that Floyd has done all this that's made him this star. And he's basically an excellent fighter who has, like, I mean, he could even, as we've all said, with all the, like, the nightclubs and throwing money and all that, we all think it's an act anyway. But he's a like a gym rat, but he's a excellent fighter, brilliant fighter. But he's cultivated that bad boy, you know, hangs around with rappers and, you know, a bit like disrespectful, and he's captivated. So Broner's tried to copy that, but as Kurt said the other day, he can never copy that because most people watch Floyd Mayweather fights to see if he can be A tested or B beaten. But Adrian Broner has already been beaten, so he
He's took all the bad bits of Floyd, though. The thing he hasn't taken of Floyd is the work ethic in the gym behind all the stunts. You know, that's the thing he hasn't taken that he needs to have taken from Floyd.
Yeah, and the zero, like, you know, if you watch Floyd to hope that he's going to be tested or maybe even lose. If you want to see Broner lose, you just go on YouTube and type in Broner Maidana.
Many times, done that many times, Tony.
It's a, you know, that's the thing that Floyd's got is the O. That is the selling point, you know. But regardless of that, you know, we had to see it. You know, people saying in 5 years, forget that. You know, he completely outclassed him. But my overriding thing, and another discussion is about where it rates him. But, you know, I just think, like, casuals are going to look at it and say that it was dull, it was boring. You know, it's a bit like when you've got like a defensive football team against an attacking team, and they're brilliant defensively, but he's risk evasive, Floyd. You know, what I'm trying to say is, if he really wanted to stamp his greatness, he needs to take like a challenge. I'm not talking about Golovkin. People, you know, I think that is a bit unrealistic, but I think it's always going to hurt him that he didn't fight Margarito at 147 and Paul Williams, because they was people that at the time. And then there's probably others that you can look at back in other divisions that he dodged, Cotto at 140, blah, blah. But, you know, a challenge. Matt Pacquiao yesterday, we all looked at him and went, look at the height difference. Look at the, you know, they're about the same speed. Look at the height. Malignaggi said he's going to have to jump in. You know, it wasn't a challenge. He's always the favourite in every fight he goes into. And, you know, I just want to see him when he's back against the wall, like taking a challenge. I'm not saying fighting fucking Klitschko. I just mean fighting someone where he's, you know, where he's not perhaps the bigger guy, and, you know, a challenge, like, you know. But you know, we've seen it now, and it's done.
I mean, what are you talking about, though? I mean, to be fair, I'm no huge Floyd Mayweather fan, but I mean, he fucking fought Canelo, who was a lot larger than him, and came into the ring at 170 pounds. I mean, I understand what you're saying. You're saying basically you want him in a 50-50 fight, but the only fucking way you're getting that is if, you know, you put him up at middleweight. I mean, that's the only way that he's going to be in a 50-50 fight. Otherwise, like, he's basically dominating two weight divisions and could probably make 140 pounds right now if he had to. So, I mean, you know, he can really sit where he is, and he can actually probably dominate three divisions. You know, 140 to 154. I mean, that's greatness. I mean, that's a fucking good. You know, there's nobody else in boxing that can do that. Maybe now Inoue, I don't know. Maybe could move between three divisions and dominate them all. I don't know. I guess it remains to be seen. But I mean, that's about it, really.
I'll just answer that by saying, and I agree with you, Donnie. Like, and there is no one in that welterweight division, or probably even light welterweight now, who is a test for him. He's by far head and shoulders above every single one of them. There's no one a test for him. But it's like saying, like Klitschko, beating up all these fat, Povetkin and all these other Glasgow.
That's all there is. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, would he have done that, like, in a different era? Like people say about Floyd, well, if he'd fought Earns, he'd have lost. If he'd fought Duran, he'd have lost. If he'd fought Leonard, he'd have lost. He's beaten everyone he can in his time. Now he's beaten, well, as I say, except Williams and Margarito. So they're always going to be a what if. But, against them, people might have said, well, yeah, Williams has got the work rate, and he's a lot taller and he's bigger reach. Floyd might be up against it. Do you get what I'm saying? He's beat everyone in his time, so you can't dispute that. But
he's also picked the moments when he wants to beat those in his time as well. So we'll finish off at that now, Rocco, but we can come back to that at a later point.
I just wanted to get that on, but as a Pacquiao fan, the argument's over. He's very good, best of his generation, but not best of all time.
No worries, mate.
And he hasn't fought in front of 80,000 people at Wembley Stadium, has he?
That's very true.
Not yet, Tony.
Maybe get me brought up, don't you worry about it.
Who fought Wembley in front of 80,000? I've never heard that.
Never heard it.
No idea, mate.
Cheers for that, Rocco.
Come on, mate. See you later, lads.
Cheers.
What, mate?
Bye.
Bye, mate. All right.
Just before we get back on the Mayweather Pacquiao talk, we'll just rattle through some of the results from the course of the weekend and over the course of the week. Vasily Lomachenko, 9-round stoppage against Guillermo Rodriguez. Guys, I thought it was a wee bit of an exhibition. I did hope he would have stopped it earlier and he could have stepped in his punches more. And I didn't even watch Leo fucking Santa Cruz, which as I says, I've not even interested in watching Santa Snooze.
Frankie Cruz.
Awful. Scott Quigg beat Santa Cruz.
Well, I'm not going that far.
Mate, do you know what? Last night, I've seen him fight numerous times before. That man is stealing a living. The money that he's earning, he gets the chief support to one of the biggest fights of all time, and he's up against, no joke, a Mexican mechanic. That's his actual job. When he's not fighting, he's a mechanic, and he made it look difficult almost. He was abysmal last night. If he's meant to be one of the elite fighters in that division, take away Rigo. I know he's stepped up now, but Jesus Christ, he's stealing a living. He must have photos of Al Heyman and Sam Watson doing something they shouldn't. How else could you explain him?
He's definitely a wee thief for a wage, that one, like, I must admit. Friday night, Ray Beltran, now he was overweight for a WBO, a lightweight title fight against Takahiro Ao. Emphatic finish, his second round stoppage, dropped Ao with a serious overhand right, and then I think fair play to Ao, he got up, but it was the ending at that point.
I don't know how he got up.
Can I be the one to say that he made Takahiro say, ow?
Ow.
Oh, God. We keep reaching new lows. Here,
how long did you wait to see that one, Donny?
See how big Beltran was compared to your man, though?
Yeah.
Huge.
Donny's been waiting.
He looked thick.
That. Waiting for that one, you mad bastard. Right, when was the Japanese card? The Japanese card, was it Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday, I think.
What was that? Somebody being sick?
What was that?
Sorry, I was outside and a bug flew into my mouth.
Flew into all of our mouths then, I think.
That sounded like somebody fucking vomiting there, actually.
I'm watching a Santa Cruz fight again.
I agree with you, Paul, what you said. You know what? I think, judging by watching him last night, I think Quigg would beat him as well. He's really that bad.
He's just wide open. He doesn't seem to do any one thing particularly well. Like the amount of times he caught this guy clean and the punches just weren't hurting him. He doesn't have very good foot speed. He doesn't cut the ring off well. He doesn't seem to do any one thing particularly well. And when you look at him, is he 30-0 now or 29-0, whatever he is? I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing that he's managed to get to where he is with that lack of ability. And you can see why they are going nowhere near. You know, we all joke, and I know a lot of you guys aren't exactly the biggest Scott Quigg fans, but you can see why they aren't rushing to make fights with guys like Quigg and Frampton, because I think both of them would beat him easily, especially Frampton. I think Frampton whoops him.
That Japanese card was from Friday, actually. Takehisa Maura knocked out Billy Dibb emphatically, actually, in the third round. Anybody who's not seen that knockout needs to go and see it. That left hand that he landed Alex was like a gun going off.
Oh, it just fucking
And-
rattled him, didn't it?
Yep, and Yakiri Yagashi knocked out some Thai rickshaw wheel repair guy. Knocked him out 2 rounds. Literally bounced his head off the canvas. Actually, it was an evil knockout that the guy looked like he was. I thought he was actually dead at one point. I'm not joking about that. Lying there staring into space. You know, the eyes weren't even moving or closing or anything. But anyway, guys, back on to the questions relating to last night. That was who asked that question. It was Jack, regards to who do you think Floyd will fight next. But a lot of guys are asking about Carl Froch, and I think it is time to bring him in more along the lines of what he was doing the other night there. But Maverick Boxer was saying, how does Floyd generate so much money when his style on the ring is not casual fan friendly, Paul?
Because he's a marketing genius. I mean, you look at Floyd Mayweather's resume. He's not exciting to watch. He punches women. He's been to jail. He ticked so many bad boxes. Up until last night, sponsors didn't want to go near him. And yet he still managed to make himself into this huge attraction where he is the number one fighter in the sport. He's also got there based on the fact that he is the best. But if you look at what Andre Ward and Rigondeaux have had problems doing, Ward and Rigondeaux will never be big name pay-per-view fighters because they haven't grabbed the public's attention like Mayweather has. And he's done it in such an impressive way. I mean, like I say, he is by far the biggest name. More people know him than they know Mayweather. Even though they know Pacquiao, sorry. And even though most people watching that fight, they're fighting in Vegas, Mayweather's hometown, and 90% of that crowd were booing him. It's amazing that people do. It's the old cliche line: people pay and tune in to watch him lose in the hope that he'll lose. But on the flip side of that, they're also then impressed by how good he is. So it's a win-win situation when people are paying to watch Mayweather. You get to see an excellent fighter. There's also the very slim possibility that he might get knocked out, which you'd love. So that's why he's just become this huge, huge star. And even though he trots out the same one-liners, I mean, watching Floyd Mayweather get interviewed is the most painful thing because Jim Gray was asking him questions. And last night, for the first time, Jim Gray from Showtime actually said, "Will you answer the question that I asked?" Because it looks like he's listening to the question and then he just says whatever line he wants from his catalogue of 10 repetitive lines. But, I mean, he's the biggest name. There's no one even remotely close to him right now.
It's not happened overnight, has it really either? Think about it, he's near 40. How long's he been on the scene as a professional now? I mean, he's been cultivating this for years upon years upon years. I mean, I never would have thought he would have become this big despite his ability because, like what you said, because of his character and all the things outside of the ring.
But he just had a fight, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
if you remember him early on, though, Kurt, back in the early HBO days when he's fighting the likes of Victoriano Souza and all them guys, he was so boring. He was getting slated in the papers, and he was, the fans were booing him even then. To think that he's become this mega star now, I mean, it is remarkable.
It helps, with Ward and Rigondeaux, they haven't got an Oscar De La Hoya who they can fight, and in the promotion to that fight, he really built himself up as this guy that you love to hate, and then it went into the Hatton fight as well, so it built from there. But if it wasn't for that Oscar De La Hoya fight as well, it would have been much tougher for him.
Yeah, that was the thing about the 24/7 ratings have never been the way they were for the De La Hoya fight because it was brand new. And it was so compelling, and we had never seen that before. And I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who watched that series who wasn't, excited to watch that fight, and it was, like I said, no, we had never been inside the camps the way that, that series brought us inside the camps and everything. And it was so well timed for him to turn on that whole, to do that heel turn, like they say in wrestling, right? To bring on that, that persona that everybody loves to hate, to do that in that particular time and in that particular place was a stroke of marketing genius. And, he's ridden the wave from that ever since.
Next question, Scotty RFC actually makes a good question here. Alex, I'll go to you this one, mate. Will Hearn be having a joyous tug over the fact that Floyd is vacating his belts? It keeps Thurman, etc., away from Brook for a bit.
I think there's two sides. There's that side that Brook isn't the only one with a belt now, and the big players aren't going to be hunting him down. But also, I think Hearn will be upset that he can't hype up this big Floyd unification fight and sell Kell along that road. We all know that that's the the aim that he was going for. The end goal was to say, Kell Brook could be fighting Floyd Mayweather, big super fight in Vegas or in 80,000 in Wembley, all that bollocks, and now he can't do that, unfortunately. So I think that for all his talk of there's only 2 world champions at the weight now, and he's right. That's Kell Brook and Keith Thurman. And
yeah, but Eddie Hearn will just spin this now into saying he's vacated his titles because he doesn't want to face the special one.
Oh fuck! See, I don't even think Eddie Hearn would even actually have the balls to come out with that one. Like, seriously, he wouldn't have the balls. I don't think he would. Steve, Jack's asking a serious question here. Does Floyd Mayweather remember or know where Carl Froch's last fight was? I forgot.
Does Floyd Mayweather remember? We were talking about this before, and Floyd probably thought he was a fan coming looking for a photograph or something. Well, he certainly will after Carl reminds him anyway, yeah.
Paul, Jack's asking again, do you think Floyd will actually retire 49-0?
Yeah, because his ego, a lot of people talk about his ego and that he wants to get to 50. I don't think he cares, because he's obviously going to finish this fight with Showtime. The only option he's got is he's talking about, he's wording it quite carefully. He's saying, after this fight, I'm retired, I'm done with the deal. Now, does that mean that he's retired from the Showtime deal? Or does that mean that he's going to retire, period? So there's the option that he has a 50th fight and he literally goes, right, highest bidder, who wants to put it on? I don't think HBO would probably go for it. I think, you never know, Heyman might have some stupid idea up his sleeve and trying to put it on CBS or something like that. But I think the problem they're going to have now is, how do you sell a Floyd Mayweather opponent? Because again, I'm a fan of Floyd. He is fantastic, and I would say there is no active fighter right now who I would give even you can get maybe a moderate chance for someone like a Thurman to come and blast him out, but I don't think there's anyone at 140, 147, or maybe even at 154 that I'd say has a chance with him. I don't know how you sell.
I can think of one.
What about Funtime Frankie?
Well, I mean, Frankie would obviously outbox him and, route him 120, 108, but Frankie's got his own fight to worry about in the end of May, so after he's beaten Brook, then he can look at unification fights. But until then, I just don't see a good challenge for him. I mean, Danny Garcia will just come at him, he'll be too small, he'll just get walked around, it won't be a particularly good fight. Amir Khan I was really up for that fight before last night. I thought that Amir Khan, with his size, with his punch output, because again, it's the old line with Floyd, the only way you can beat him is by throwing a huge amount of punches and keeping him busy. I just don't think Khan would land. I just don't think he would. I think he would struggle massively, and
he would overreach at some point, throw punches straight on and get opened up with a straight right hand and roll under.
Because Danny's desperate to get on.
The frustrating thing, though, like I said, with Floyd was that he only again, we talked about this earlier, but he only used two punches. He only used 2 punches last night. A jab and a right hack. He didn't throw a left hook. He didn't throw an uppercut. It was just left jab, right hand. He did the absolute minimal amount to win that. He won that fight so easily, and I think it'd be the same against Thurman or whoever they want to stick him in with.
Big mistake though for Manny was that he didn't use his jab barely at all, I thought. And I mean, obviously, I think Amir Khan would.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he tried. Like I said, I mean, again, it's all about the numbers, but if you look at the punches thrown and punches landed, I mean, when was last time that Manny Pacquiao landed that? He's never landed that small, or thrown that less amount over 12 rounds, or that small amount over 12 rounds, and landed as few as he did.
But sorry, go ahead.
I've always liked, like I said, Khan and Paul. The Margarita one I think is a poor comparison, because I just think Floyd would outbox him. But Paul Williams and Amir Khan are the 2 fighters with the right style that I think beats Floyd. It has to be a tall welterweight with a high punch output. I just don't think Khan has enough about him to do the job. So he's either going to have a couple more fights and we just accept they're not going to be mega fights. Because after all, we had Alvarez, which was huge. And then we came down to Maidana. It was actually quite decent. So they've got to just pick his opponents now very carefully. And they've got to try and match them with someone who's going to give him something different for them to sell to the public.
Final question before we get Dees on Blue on. I think Danny's coming on next. Came in from a shitload of questions here. I'm just trying to find it. There it said. Dyke is asking, does Floyd winning the belts mean he's doing his mate Heyman a favour and giving him a PBC fight? No, because he's going to be fighting with Showtime basically. We've got Danny on the line. He's just coming on. I've got quite a few other questions here relating to Mayweather Pacquiao, and I've obviously got a few relating to Carl Froch.
Why?
Why? Well,
sorry, I've been away for a few days, so if...
Listen, it'll be worth the wait, don't you worry about that. When do we get Belly the week up? This is gold.
Oh, okay.
Come on, Danny. Danny!
Hello.
How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Sorry, I just had to... I was being forced to watch some X Factor stuff, I think it was. Yeah. Cheers for letting me come on again. I came on last week. Naively thought that Pacquiao had a chance, I think. But I don't know. That didn't seem to me, as has already been alluded to be the Pacquiao that we know. And I've seen a few tweets which may be right. I don't know. I haven't done the research that Pacquiao's output's sort of gone from, I don't know, so many around to a third of that. And he's been throwing less and less recently. I don't know if anyone on the panel can confirm or deny, but certainly last night there was something different about Pacquiao's output, and I know that people have talked about the injury and the way that it's been timed. Sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I mean, on you go.
Just checking. There's got a bit of interference. Yeah, I thought there might have been something in the fact that, you know, his right shoulder might have been a bit goosed. I think they mentioned in the press post fight conference it was the third round. He complained he had some pain, but who you believe, whether it's Aram saying it's a long injury or it's the same problem, serious ligament problem that Kobe Bryant's had, I don't know. You can't. We'll find out in the autobiography, I guess. But when it comes to the actual fight, I definitely wondered. Okay, so my sorry story is, you asked me last week, would I pay for the fight? Okay, so I got up to the in-laws just over the weekend, couldn't get online, so ended up paying for the fight. But Virgin have got this thing where you can't record it, so I was in bed, woke up, couldn't watch it. It's all on the slots, whichever replay that you have to wait for. So waiting for the next slot, I was too impatient, so I went on the Olsen Bros and watched it on a PC with no sound on it. And Manny lost. So that was really, really great from my point of view. But I was watching it with the sound off, and I was kind of analysing, free of all the noise, you know, what was Manny doing. And I thought, yeah, okay, it's kind of what you expect after about 3. And then 4 rounds and he hurts him. And I'm thinking, okay, now he's realising the truth. He's getting some power. And Floyd didn't like it. And then I watched the follow-up, and I think somebody already mentioned it. It could have been Paul or Kurt, but he just basically sort of stood off him. And I'm thinking, why is he standing off him? You know, he's got him on the ropes. Floyd clearly doesn't want to exchange, so he's a bit jittery. So why is he stopping? And I'm watching the fight round by round. Man, he's just not throwing the punches. And Floyd's moving around the ring, especially in the corner. He used the corner like it was his friend. So man, he'd come in, he'd try and second guess when to throw a punch. And then Floyd would just step away, just turn him, spin him on the ropes. And it was very impressive from a defensive point of view. But I was still not sure what the problem was with Manny. And he seems to me, and I think it's not just my thought, I've seen it on Twitter, that the KO was in the back of his mind, the one that he suffered to Marquez. Like he knew that if he rushed in, he was going to get hit again, and so on and so forth. So I don't know if it's that, whether he had a problem in his mind about his shoulder or what, but he just didn't do enough. And I agree with, could have been Paul again, that from the 9th round where he seemed to be trying his best, after that he gave up. I think you mentioned, Andy, he gave up after the 9th round. And
mentally, I thought he quit after the 9th, I felt. There
was just something not right about it, and yeah.
Where was the foot movement there last night? There was none. I mean, it was more upper body movement he was doing, moving at the waist. There was no foot movement, no darting in and out. He didn't even attempt to move to the right, slip the jab and come in with his own straight left hand. You know, it's just maybe the timing isn't there, the speed's not there anymore.
How many times have we said this lately? I remember watching Manny Pacquiao did the same look when he sat down that Alvarez did after the 3rd round of his fight. He sat down, looked at his trainer as if to say, I don't know what to do. And Pacquiao had that same look on his face of, I don't know what to do. And I think you can only appreciate what it's like when you actually fight him, how frustrating it must be. We can sit here and say all the things that Manny didn't do, but I just think we've got to look at it as what Floyd didn't allow him to do. He obviously was worried about getting countered so much.
Yeah, and again, Paul, you've done it again. You've stole it. That's exactly what I was going to say. I think what I came to realise very much begrudgingly, because we all know Floyd doesn't make it easy to be friends with him, is he was holding Manny whenever the fight got close. For the first 3 or 4 rounds, he got a warning on, I think it was the 3rd round, and he was pushing Manny's head down and doing all the stuff that you would do if you were in Floyd's shoes. You know, don't blame the guy for fighting to his strengths and making the most of other. Yeah, he's streetwise, so give him credit for that. And he also has a great chin, because he did get clocked. And if you'd have seen that sort of a punch he had to take a few times in the fight, I think Manny said it was about 3 or 4 times. I think I agree with him. If it was a Cotto, you would see the wobble. If it was a Margarito, you'd see the legs, the knees buckle a little bit. You know, it wasn't affecting Floyd because he knew what he had to do when he was in trouble, and he's done it in certainly the twilight of his career. He knows what to do when he is clocked. He admits he can get hit, and when he does get hit, he knows what to do, and he executed really well. And I'm going to give Floyd a lot of credit for that. I do appreciate the guy's chin, and there's no way he could be the fighter he is, for another fight at least, without the chin that he's got. He you know, it's a gamble to fight the way he does, putting his kind of his chin out there, and it's going to get hit sometimes. So I mean, anyway, so Floyd basically, I think, he sapped some of the will from Manny after the first 6 rounds, where Manny knew he caught him when he went in for the kill, and I use that in inverted commas because I think Manny had a problem. There was something wrong last night that was added to by the fact that Floyd knew how to take his gusto away, and so on and so forth. But I think we can be a bit harsh on Manny, because this injury stuff, he didn't make anything of it. He said that he complained about some pain. There was a little bit of Freddie elaborating on the injury in the post-fight press conference, but it was mostly Aram. Aram seemed to know the full prognosis, the history, and to a degree, maybe Aram's trying to get that last fight sewn up with Manny rather than anyone else. Manny just had his head down as if to say, yeah, okay, it didn't help, but I still have my left hand. My left hand's my best hand. I couldn't use the hook with the right hand, but at the end of the day, I should have done better. The other point that I wanted to bring up was one, again, it's not a new one, so Twitter's mentioned it a few times, and I wholeheartedly agree, is that, I mean, only a few weeks ago, Peterson was sort of, I guess, if you can say this, Floyd-like in the first half of the fight against Garcia. He made Garcia look like the amateur, that he is, like a robot, and so on and so forth. And even to the extent of the last 3 rounds, pretty much kicked Danny's ass. And yet he got told, by, the media and everyone else who watched the fight, that because he didn't land enough big punches in the first half of the fight, he lost that fight. I just want to know what the panel's thoughts are with it. If Floyd does it, it's okay, but if other people... And again, Paul's mentioned the likes of Rigondeaux, because he doesn't have a personality to back up his skills. They all use the same tactic, but they don't get the same leniency when it comes to the judges' scorecards. But I mean, more recently, everyone should be aware, because it's a recent fight with Peterson. We know that he got robbed, but how much he got robbed shows, I think, more by watching the fight last night.
Yeah, but Danny Garcia actually landed more punches than him in those rounds. And, he was actually, the difference was that he wasn't countering effectively. He was making Garcia miss a lot, but he wasn't actually hitting him back. So, I mean, I see what you're saying. I think, but I mean, I'm just saying, I don't think that is entirely comparable. It was, when I was watching that fight, if there was a way I was rooting for Manny, right? So if there was a way I could have, in my head, scored those rounds for Manny, I would have done so. But I couldn't do it. I knew that he was losing those rounds. When I was watching those early rounds in Peterson versus Garcia, I was thinking to myself, I think Lamont Peters is winning these rounds, but I don't know if he will or not because it's close. You know what I mean?
Perfect. Yeah. No. I do agree with that, and I'm not going back on what I've just said. I'm just trying to say that, like Paul mentioned, the fact that you've got comparable fighting styles, for other fighters because they're not bringing in the money to Vegas, the commission and everything else like Floyd does. They don't have that power, that kudos, that connection with the fans, even if they're just the fans that want to see him lose. People diss those fighters because of their ability and the purist styles, but they don't seem to quite hate on the fact that Mayweather did a lot of running last night. And yeah, I mean, I suppose all right, go back to what's already been mentioned tonight. Harris landed Lara. Okay, Canelo did land a lot of body shots on Lara, where again Manny didn't manage to do too many unless he had him cornered. But I think, aside from all those details, there was something different about Manny last night, and I can't remember. It might have been one of these the Legends Speak programs, or maybe it was another HBO, ESPN type broadcast where one of the trainers of one of the fighters, he might have even been the most obnoxious trainer out there, Danny Garcia's trainer. Is he called Angel Garcia? He said that Manny's going to have a big problem because he's got that KO and that's finished him mentally. And I thought, like most people do when Angel Garcia speaks, yeah. But I think he really did hit the nail on the head. Because I was watching that fight, again, with the sound down. I'm watching Manny's face. I'm waiting for he's threatening to strike, he's threatening to pounce. He's in, and then he's waiting. And I do believe that he had at the back of his mind, I'm going to get caught again. Which he shouldn't have done because Mayweather doesn't quite have that power. But it's easy for me to say. I'm an armchair fan at the end of the day. Lastly, I've been on the call a while, I know, but last fight for Mayweather, because I do also think it's worth talking about. I've said this before, this isn't a new thing, and I appreciate that most people, don't like Khan's personality, and that sways them with regard to how he's going to do in a fight with Floyd. I think that maybe he could do what maybe Manny hasn't done. He's been floored, he's been embarrassed, and so on and so forth, but it doesn't seem to stem the number of punches the guy throws. And I think that I can't remember who said it on the call, but the number of punches that he throws, maybe it might have been Donny. Khan's output might threaten Floyd's points every round, and I don't think Floyd would knock him out. I think Floyd's got power that people don't appreciate, but I'm not convinced he would have the Danny Garcia, that sort of ability to stop Khan in his tracks. I don't know, but I think the most comparable Brit in terms of fighting ability, again, this might come up for some ridicule, is probably Kell Brook, because he can counter at speed. He does have that ability, maybe not the footwork of Mayweather, who does, but he does have that waiting for, the reflex kind of fight ability that I think will make an interesting fight. But of course, there's all the bollocks around it created by Hearn that's going to stop that from happening. So I guess I'm thinking maybe either Thurman or a catchweight with Triple G, but each fighter would have to either lose or gain half a stone in order to make a fight.
Canelo rematch possible also.
Oh, yeah. Canelo's just not got the brain. The thing that
he'll say he was drained, and people will believe it.
Well, I watched the fight, and Canelo probably was drained because his energy disappeared after about 4 rounds. But if I was to create Sorry, Donnie, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, prior to that fight, he was known as a fighter with stamina problems. So, it wasn't like he just lost it in that fight and he could blame the weight, you know what I mean? It's like, but I mean, like I said, it's not about whether or not in actuality he was drained or in actuality whether his stamina is improved or whatever. I mean, I think people will want to believe it, especially if, the fight takes place at at Canelo weight, right? Like 156. Which is what he, keeps me fighting at these days. But if a fight takes place there, people will give him a better chance, and they'll play up the weight issue, and they'll say Canelo was green and he didn't. But he's experienced now. He's fought Lara. He's fought, these other fights and stuff like that. So I mean,
If it could, sorry to jump in, but if it came down to weight, there's a bit of an argument there because last night it wasn't even official how much heavier Floyd was than Manny. It was probably about a stone. That suggests that maybe Floyd's increasing his weight every fight. Maybe, I don't know. That's just the natural time catches up with all of us, I guess. But what I would say is that if I had to pick the best fight, if it could be made, and let's face it, for his last fight, he's going to have to go out on a high. He can't just rematch an old foe for me. I think that he's got to be somebody who is perceived as being the Ivan Drago of the world. So if you imagine somebody like Triple G managing to cut half a stone, and Floyd decides, we don't know what he walks around at. Does anybody on the call know what Floyd Mayweather his weight is when he's walking around?
No one is higher than 160, mate, in all honesty, I don't think.
Well,
his walk-around weight's very close to his fighting weight.
Yeah. To be honest, guys, I need to get this call moving because other callers waiting to go on the call, Danny.
Yeah, that's fine. Listen, thanks for letting me call in, but yeah, big sad face from me, Manny Pacquiao, etc. But yeah, guys, cheers for the call. See you later.
Always, mate. Cheers.
Okay, bye.
Right. We've got William on finally on the line. William, you're live in Vegas, mate. Give me a quick breakdown how your evening went. Well, obviously you're a TMT fan, so obviously it went good for you, but good atmosphere all round.
It was absolutely brilliant. First, I want to say, great work, guys. Great podcast. Just on your last caller, I couldn't disagree anymore. Kell Brook doesn't have the speed to cause Floyd any problems. Someone like Khan has the speed to not only match Floyd, but also better him. And that would be a masterful chess match, in my opinion. It would be a case of who gets in the punches first and who comes out of range first. And I think that Khan could actually do a masterful points decision against him, and I think it would be a great matchup. Vegas has been incredible. Just a few points I wanted to make. Read the ticket fiasco. When I first got to Vegas, I bumped into Sam Watson. He's Al Heyman's right-hand man, of course, and he was trying to sell me a ticket for $4,000. It was quite desperate and embarrassing to see someone of that stature trying to move fans, really. So I spoke to a few people on Twitter, Steve at UCN, also Brian, who were suggesting that we just wait a day before the fight or as close to the fight as possible and try and get these tickets out to their knees. So I ended up paying a little under $2,500, which was a win for me because I got it cheaper than what the cunt Sam Watson was trying to sell me. So that was a moral victory, if you want to call it. Read the boxing casuals. I met plenty of them out here. On the limo to the fight, I met a bunch of guys. I asked a couple of them who they wanted to win. One of them responded by saying, I'll get to the fight first and then decide who I want to win. I mean, that reeked of casual. It was quite astonishing. And then at the end of the fight, I met a guy who was 5 rows at the front. I was trying to take a picture with Deontay Wilder, and he's asking me who this guy is. And he's been sitting at the fight. It was quite ridiculous. And the last point I want to make, value of the week, saw Rick Bowe at the fight, went up to him to take a picture, and he asked me for $20. It was disappointing to see that. I mean, this is someone who's made millions of dollars in the ring, and he's asking me, a guy from South London, for $20. It was ridiculous.
That's sad, mate. That's sad. But as long as you had a good weekend, mate, I know your boy won and stuff, you were happy, but I hope you had a good time over there, Mo. Hopefully you're back on the show next week also.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Cheers for that insight, mate.
Flight, so, yeah, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Sam Watson and TMT got on there.
For the $20, couldn't hear.
Who asked him?
It was Riddick Bowe asked for $20.
Oh, I'm not surprised about that. Only 20, is that all?
Right, we'll rattle through the rest of these Twitter questions. Mike Smith is asking Alex, do you think chopping wood the Carl Froch way gave Floyd that extra 10% power in order to win the fight?
I think that Carl Froch should be taking all the credit for that victory last night. He obviously gave Floyd the impetus and the motivation he needed to beat Manny Pacquiao. So I think Carl Froch essentially just beat Manny Pacquiao.
You know, if Floyd carries on, maybe he can fight at Wembley in front of 80,000 people.
And it's just, I don't know about that. I mean,
and it's just like that Adrian Cloner won there last night as well.
Well, yeah, that means Broner's beat him and Maidana's beat him. I mean, it's a whole lot of all-time great fighters created last night.
Yep. Now, Sheps is finally put in a question for the first time in a few weeks. He says, with the general election looming, I would like to adopt a politics theme and to discuss benefit cuts, which has serious implications for some of our general boxing public. If a Tory government is re-elected, who stands to lose the most of their benefits? Manny Pacquiao for his shoulder injury resulting in inability to perform in his job, or Ed Robinson losing out on his carer's allowance, which he receives for looking after those two fucking geriatric mongoloids, Nick Holling and Jim Watt.
Well, I think, if it's a Labour government, then the NHS will be in a better place, so Manny Pacquiao will be all right, but I think if Conservatives win, it's a lose-lose. They look after the elderly, they don't know the Conservatives, so that'll probably be the better option for Jim. Geriatric rolls out of his Spain villa and rocks up at
I'm surprised Floyd Mayweather doesn't move over here, considering we've got a Tory government. You know, they would look after the rich, no problem. You know, you get tax breaks and all that sort of stuff.
If you keep getting it, might affect the small hall shows because they're not let the Latvians over to come and make up the 4-rounders.
Yeah, matchmaker's nightmare, wouldn't it? Yeah, we get Vasily. No, Ben Jones only.
If I don't see any more pregnant Latvians, I'll just quit the sport.
Yeah. Next question. Rocco's asking, which fighter of our generation left the sport at the perfect time? Calzaghe, Lennox, Naz, Vitali, potentially Juan Manuel Marquez, Vlad, Froch, Kurt.
I think Lennox Lewis out of those. I mean, Calzaghe as well, but I think Lennox Lewis went out in the perfect time with his win over Klitschko. He done everything he could. It's just, I mean, Marquez, if he never fights again. Yeah, it's fair.
Next question. Paul Chathers Hamill is asking, how many people do you think Gonzo told that he'd knocked George Groves out at Wembley? I reckon it was 80,000.
Well, I mean, if we work on the basis, there were 16,000 in the arena, so that's at least 16,000 there. He was there for the media room. There's about 1,000 press, so that's another 1,000. And then, I mean, Vegas, what was it, about 50,000 hotel rooms they've got in Vegas, or if not more. So easily as many people as were there to watch him fight. And it wasn't 80,000, it was 77. I know it's really finicky, but he keeps saying 80,000. It just wasn't.
And the thing is, you know...
I was there, though. Hashtag press pass.
Press pass.
Oh, aye.
The thing is, he was obviously on cameras as well, and, you know, it got streamed around the world, millions of viewers. He's potentially told millions of people that he knocked George Groves out at Wembley in front of 77,000 people.
I'll tell you
Floyd
one thing.
Mayweather has no idea who George Groves is. He doesn't know what Wembley is. You sat there telling him, do you remember when I did this in Wembley? He's like, what's that?
What did Broner call it?
Wellington.
Wellington or something.
I tell you what though, I think Carol Froch's nose is on fucking steroids. Like, it's getting bigger all the time, man.
It's just gravity, mate. It's gravity. It's pulling it down.
Broom82's asking, if Brook wasn't so thick, would it have been better for his profile, Steve, to go to Vegas as a Sky pundit rather than stay and fight Gavin? I think he's got a point there, actually. At least get yourself known to some of the Americans.
Yeah, well, he is a little bit better known to the Americans after beating Porter, I suppose. But yeah, it wouldn't have done any harm to be sort of hanging around, although you never know. Hanging around the slums of Las Vegas, he's probably better off training in Sheffield, keep himself out of trouble. So, yeah, I think Kel made the right move.
Chathers Hamill's asking again, Kurt, I'll go to you, mate, with this one. He's saying, if, or I hope when, Sky have an overhaul of their pundits, who would realistically deserve to remain? It's quite interesting this question came up, because I was actually talking to a guy earlier on this morning, actually, about some of the Sky football coverage. You know, the way Sky present their football was like the Premier League was only introduced in 1992. I heard them saying the other night that Chelsea was looking to win their 4th Premier League title. Well, Chelsea's have actually won the league 5 times now rather than fucking 4 times, you know, so it's just, I think it's just Sky in general just kind of, you know, overhaul. But realistically, I think, would you agree, maybe Alex Arthur, Ed Robinson,
Jamie Moore.
Jimmy Moore.
Matthew Macklin's good. Matthew Macklin's been really good.
I like Andy Lee when he's on as well.
Paul Smith's okay, unless he would just crack a smile now and again, you know.
He's very insightful, but he looks like he's just going to cry at any moment. But what he says is really good, but the way he delivers it, whereas like Malignaggi, he says good stuff, but delivers it really well.
That's what he's like.
Don't get me started on Malignaggi, fucking hell.
Nick Holland last night sitting in between Watt, fucking Froch and Adam Smith without a mic on. I thought, I was like at one point, yes, he's not in league commentary, he's not going to be in league commentary. Bang, league commentary, fuckers. Can you believe
he's
it?
Halling knows everybody hates him. And I tweeted him the other day just saying, you're not doing the main event, are you? And he tweeted back saying, oh, that's what I'm here for. Like, he knows that everyone thinks he's shit, but he'll just, he like I said, no one was sat closer to that ring pretty much than Nick Halling was Saturday night.
Nick Holland, did he not block, he usually blocks. He blocked me for basically saying that. What was it I said? There was nothing generally bad or anything like that. But I think I retweeted something anyway, and he'd obviously I didn't even. That's what it was. Someone that he'd banned me from a tweet that I'd been added into for something. I can't remember what it was about. I didn't even follow
the comment. They weren't. I mean, they weren't that bad last night. I know probably a few of you guys had the HBO stream, but because again it was a very easy fight to commentate on. They were quite Floyd Mayweather fanboyish, but so would everybody be watching that fight. They weren't horrendous, but they absolutely slagged the undercard. Like every bit of the undercard, they were just like, "Why is Lomachenko not knocking him out?" Every round, it was, "Why isn't he stopping him? He's not very good, is he? He needs to polish up a bit." And then they just destroyed Santa Cruz. But overall, I thought they weren't that bad. But it was just quite funny watching Froch and that get jostled as they were obviously stood in the middle of the stands.
What else we got? Another one. Sam is asking Donny if you could see any rematch in boxing right now, what would it be? Active fighters only.
Ooh, good question. What rematch would I want to see? I guess Khan Garcia.
Yeah, it's a good show.
Gonzalez Estrada.
Yeah, that's probably going to be happening, isn't it? I think they said that they've signed that on for HBO.
Interesting, because I was reading an article in Boxing Monthly about Gonzalez moving up to super flyweight, potentially for the Inoue fight, so we'll wait and see about that one. Andrew G's asking, who did better, Manny Pacquiao or Marcus Maidana? Why and how did they do so? Well, the thing is, Maidana is just different style, isn't it? So
yeah, Maidana had the size over him. I mean, Floyd was obviously the bigger fighter for the Pacquiao fight, but Maidana, it was just bullying him and really troubled him, and the bullying seems to have hit Floyd a lot, and he just went in there and manhandled him. He wasn't worried about the shots coming back, the counters coming back, so that's why he just went in there, whereas Manny was sort of very tentative about shots firing back, and that's partly why he probably didn't fire as often as he should.
Completely different fights as well. Maidana was obviously looked upon as a routine, easy fight for Floyd. Pacquiao was obviously the biggest fight of his career, so I don't see, I know some people are saying, oh, Maidana did better, that's bad for Pacquiao, but styles and, the build-up to the fight play into that. Ken Norton gave Ali trouble, but, someone like George Foreman destroyed him, but George Foreman obviously got beat by Ali, so it's just a styles thing, and I just don't think for 1 second that Floyd took Maidana anywhere near as seriously the first time as he would Manny Pacquiao.
Final 3 questions here coming in, and then we'll move on to Belly of the Week. I think we're running at 1 hour 33 minutes just now. Jimmy Hughes, where is Floyd in the all-time great list now? I still say he struggles to break the top 20.
I disagree. I think he's bordering. I think he's definitely in the top 10, top 15 conversation now. I get why.
No chance.
Honestly, do you know what? Honestly, because you can talk history, and you can. He's not number 1. He's not number 2. He's not number 3. And there are a lot of fighters who you could put in the conversation, but he is that much better than everyone around him right now.
He's the best fighter of our generation.
He's the best. Put it this way, he's the best fighter of the last 25 years. And if we look at boxing as the last 100, say since the turn of the 1900s upwards, 115 years worth of boxing, he's been the best fighter of the last quarter of that. So that has to put him at least in the conversation, unless we're saying to ourselves that through all of the time, the majority of us, I know 1 or 2 of you are a bit older, have been watching boxing, that none of the fighters we've watched have been great. And you're only a great boxer if you fought in the 50s or 60s or 70s.
You're not saying that though, but you've got to look at it. I made the point earlier. You've got to look at who's he fought. He's a great fighter. We look at his talent, but he never ever really tested it, and that's the problem with it.
But the problem he had. I mean, he fought Corrales, Castillo, De La Hoya, Judah, Hatton, Marquez, Cotto, Mosley. So he's fought a lot of names. The problem that he has is, unlike Leonard and Duran and Hagler, they all equaled each other. So you could make the point that if Sugar Ray Leonard was that much better than Duran, Hagler and Hearns, that he may not be regarded as good as he was, because he might have beaten them all so easily and people wouldn't have thought much of those fights. But because they were so competitive, then...
But at the same time, those guys wanted to fight each other, though.
That's true, but actually, I mean, we're proper stretching names. If the best that we can come up with that Floyd didn't fight is Paul Williams and Antonio Margarito, and maybe, again, Cotto at 140. You can't fight everybody. I mean, I'm only 25, so I don't talk about... even the Hagler and that sort of generation. I've seen fights, but I've not seen masses of it. I don't know it as well as maybe some of you guys do. But like I said, I put him as better than Roy Jones. I think his resume, not necessarily jumping through the weight classes, but his ability and his resume is better than Jones. I think it's between him and Jones for the last 25 years. I put Floyd as number one at the moment, and because of that, he has to at least be top 10, top 15 for me. At the bottom end of that, but I think he has to be there. You can disagree, I know you all will, but I've never...
Not necessarily, but you know what? I like to let these things sink in a little bit. I think immediately after a fight, we're always, jumping to say, oh, he is or he isn't and stuff like that. I think sometimes you just need to let a few years pass and kind of just look at things in perspective, I guess.
I mean, at 130, he was sensational. He wasn't all that great 135 and 140. Well, he kind of always skipped over those weights, didn't he? I mean, at 130, he beat Hernandez, he beat Manfredi. He was really good. Corrales, I think, was at 130 as well. Corley was a hard fight, but I would think anybody who was to subjectively sit down and actually break it up. And this isn't hate in any sort of way. I mean, I remember reading Trish Dixon's comments on that as well, and he's a respected writer. And he says he's very rarely in exciting fights, and he's not always fought the best opponents. That's from a few years ago as well. So
yeah,
I think it's going to go against him in his final ranking as well at some point. And you see, what Kurt was mentioning the other night there as well is, the reason why the guys like Duran, for instance, and Leonard are all classed as great fighters and stuff. They tested themselves. They took the bigger challenges. They fought the bigger guys. I mean, Duran, for instance, we mentioned him up to super middleweight, fighting Iran Bartley. Leonard did the same, fighting all these big guys and stuff. Floyd just doesn't seem to really want to extend himself in any sort of way.
Do you know what cost him? What cost Floyd in terms of his legacy is 2009 to 2011. That sort of gap pretty much after the Ricky Hatton fight, and he had that long gap out. And he fought once a year. He fought once in 2009, once in 2010, once 2011, and once 2012. He was fighting 2 times a year like he has been. I think he's looked very good over his Showtime deal. And if he'd been fighting more often and he'd picked up more names, at this point he'd already be over 50-0. I think it'd be a slightly different conversation. I get why people don't want to talk about him as the greatest, because he didn't take silly challenges, and it's very difficult to compare someone like Floyd to someone like Sugar Ray Robinson, who fought 1 week and then next Saturday he was back out fighting again, and he fought world title fights 3-4 times in a couple of months. It's a totally different age. It's a bit like comparing Stanley Matthews to Messi. And my granddad would turn around and say that Stanley Matthews is a much better footballer than Messi is. We would probably disagree, because we've seen what Messi does and his ability now. But it's always hard. All these top lists are always so subjective. But he's the best. He's the best of our time.
It's just the fact that, he can't break it, in my opinion, unless he does something absolutely extraordinary, like literally clean up middleweight, clean up light heavyweight. He can't break the top 10 for me. And he's not going to do that. I'm not expecting him to do that. It's not something that I'm holding against him. It's just the career that he's had so far, and some of the taints that's been on his career and his resume. I think he can't break top 10, because the guys that are in the top 10 and top 15 are so solidified there and so just perfectly placed there that it's going to take an absolutely monumental effort to break them out.
I think if he beat Golovkin, he'd be top 15.
You could argue it.
No,
but again,
could argue that, but then some people argue that he's not even pound for pound, which is probably right.
I mean,
Yeah.
You could.
But the only reason Golovkin isn't pound for pound is because no one will fight him, though. I mean, we all think that in terms of like boxing talents, I think that Golovkin would be in all of. I think I would hope, anyways, all of our top 10 pound for pound, probably top 5. In terms of who's the best fighters around on a pure talent basis. But is he pound for pound by the traditional resume credentials? No, obviously he isn't. But that's only because he can't get the fights. If Floyd went up and beat him, beat the boogeyman, beat the man that nobody wants to fight at a weight that he is totally, ill-equipped to fight at, if he beat him, to me, he'd be top 15.
Oh, yeah, I'd agree with that.
The problem is, though, there'll always be someone else. So I remember when Joe Calzaghe beat Roy Jones, and they said, well, okay, you've beaten Roy Jones and Bernard Hopkins. Well, what about Chad Dawson? That was what Max Kellerman said to him. And that's what, with Floyd Mayweather, if he beat Golovkin, it would be, well, what about this guy? Or what about coming back down to 147 and beating Thurman? You can always find a fight for everybody.
It's the time as well, isn't it? I mean, I remember when Roy Jones moved up to heavyweight and won a bit of the heavyweight title. Max Kellerman wrote at the time that there's arguments to be made that Roy Jones is the greatest fighter who ever lived. Now, like 10 years later, nobody says that. No, I mean, some people won't even put him in the top 25 or anywhere near that. So it's just a timing thing as well. I mean, in 5 years' time after Floyd's retired and stayed away, I think that's a better case to look at his career. But it's like, there's examples of where people have really rated someone highly or not highly, and then Lennox Lewis is like the opposite. When he was boxing, a lot of the American guys, the writers, they weren't really fans of him. They didn't like his style. But after he retired and the heavyweight division was left in a mess, they really looked at him and said, we wish he was back. And, they look at him more fondly now. A bit like Larry Holmes as well. He was, getting a lot of criticism, but now everyone knows Holmes is an easy top 10. So I think it's the same if you Floyd, we just got to see in a few years. And, he's still got a career. We don't know how many fights he's going to have. But
I mean, he hasn't retired yet. And the thing is with Roy Jones, you make that comparison. If he did retire when he won that heavyweight title, think where he'd be now. It would be almost indisputable to have him ranked, as highly as some of the people are saying. It's, but it's what happens afterwards, isn't it? Floyd might just go on and have that stupid career where he fights for bums because he needs the money.
Yeah, I mean, there was a guy who wrote, I think, once, they said if Mike Tyson walked out of the convention center at Atlantic City after the Spinks fight and got hit by a bus, like he'd be the greatest heavyweight who ever lived.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when you choose to walk away from the sport matters, and but if Floyd walks away right after this, I think will definitely be legacy enhancing. So,
final question before Belly of the Week comes in from Macho Grande. With Mayweather and Pacquiao at the end of their careers, is the golden era of welterweight division now over? Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I wouldn't even hold out any hope of these PBC guys fighting each other anytime soon.
No, we still have Amir Khan. And that's really...
fuck off. Right, Belly of the Week, go and get the intro up, guys. You just ended all topic conversation there, Donny.
Alright, 1 sec.
It's going to happen, mate. We're going to do it. And when we do it, it's going to be vicious, mate. I ain't a man dregsing with the weights. I ain't a man taking the last ounces of my soul on the scales. I've done that before. I ain't doing it no more. You can say what you want, Bellew's not in shape, Bellew looks fleshy at the weight. Bellew's just iced a man who's never been done before. Bellew just feels in absolutely fantastic shape. Bellew doesn't lose 2.5 stone no more each time at a camp. Bellew goes to the gym now, 15 stone, and just cuts 10 pound, nice and easy. I fought Nathan Cleverly in my 16th fight, 15 fight novice. I had 4, the best person I fought was Oval Mackenzie at British title level. I am now, is that 25, is that 26 fights? I've fought some of the best. I've fought the best fighter in the world in my weight class. One of the biggest pound for pound punchers in the world. I've beat guys like Isaac Chilemba, world ranked guys. Let's see who beats Isaac Chilemba. I've beat renowned punchers, Ederson Miranda. I'm not saying he was the best Ederson Miranda. I'm just saying I've beat these guys. Who's he beat? Okay, everyone's saying, well, Tony, he did beat you. He beat a guy who basically got a fight because he opened his mouth at a press conference and he sells a shitload of tickets to the Echo Arena. That's why I got that fight. Everybody thought he was going to smash me. Everyone involved with that fight thought he was going to smash me. But when he went to within an inch of losing and it's a decision that could have been either way. He doesn't want to come near me after it. That's why he couldn't answer the question then when I said it in front of him. Just answer me this: why wouldn't you take the rematch immediately? Do you know what he said? I think he was saying what that Walsh train station was. That long word. I couldn't understand what he was saying. I just answered a simple question like, why wouldn't you fight me the minute after the rematch happened? He wouldn't fight me because he believed he was going to knock me out, and he just believed he was going to beat me up, and that's all I've got to say about that. Let's do it right now. We can do it now, you fucking rat. Okay, what's the value of the week?
Right, I've got quite a few ones in this week. Actually, it just shows you the leading contender early last week actually came after last week's podcast. Brian Jennings saying that he felt that he beat Vladimir Klitschko. That's about as bad as Manny Pacquiao saying that he won there last night also. So that's the first two up this week, Brian Jennings and Manny Pacquiao. Did anybody see the video with Cloner and Amir Khan about making the fight between each other? Cloner says, let's do it. We'll do it at Wellington, meaning that it should have been at Wembley, you know. Fuck.
Close enough.
No,
Other side of the world.
Oh, quality. Now, Karol Gonzo Froch is getting nominated as per usual. 2 nominations goes for the fact, as he says, I'm disappointed in Pacquiao for saying that he won the fight. This is coming from a guy that attempted to claim victory after the Ward verdict, raising his hands and stuff. And basically for that Floyd Mayweather interview, for where he actually Karol Froch asks Floyd Mayweather a Karol Froch question. I never watched it all. I just heard a bit about chopping down trees and stuff, but
it was the bit when Mayweather said he knew. He said, "And you're a great champion." As in that Mayweather recognised, and Karl Froch was like a little 10-year-old. He was like, "Oh yeah, he knows my name."
I bet Alex Morris was like fucking going to put a shoe through the television and stuff. I'm like, told you, Alex, that he knew who he was.
Wait, what did Mayweather say about Karl Froch?
It was basically
called Gonzo.
This guy, like, there was someone else with Froch asking the questions, and like,
Fraser Dainton.
Yeah, and then Floyd responded by saying, "Oh, you know, I'm a great champion, just like this man over here," and he like pointed to Karl Froch, and Karl was just like sort of lit up, and he's like, "Oh, he's talking to me." So you know, and then when Karl went in to jump in with his own question, he started talking about knocking George Groves out in front of 80,000 people at Wembley.
And he's put his business card that. His business card and copyright it.
Yeah, he's been chopping down some trees. He's been doing some swimming to build up his power. He goes, "Have you been doing some swimming? Have you been chopping down some trees?" And that was it.
There was a bit of confusion there, though, because whenever he said, "You're a great champion," Johnny Nelson was just off camera. You couldn't see him. I think he was actually pointing to Johnny there.
And Glenn McCrory was there as well.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Glenn and Froch are always fun to watch on stage together. They hate each other.
It was when he was staring down the camera at ringside and stuff. I'm saying to myself, don't tell me you can see his fucking nose in that screen or something. You know, I must have took up the whole fucking frame of the screen. It was kind of off-putting when he kept staring at us. Kevin Mitchell, I think he writes for, is it The Guardian he writes for, I think?
Yeah.
He tweeted to Danny Flexen, who I think he writes for Box News, said that Manny didn't throw enough because his right shoulder was buggered. Although Floyd did his thing well enough, Floyd was painfully slow on his feet in the heavy going. They were able to rally, but got tagged easily on the ropes way too often. Apparently, what was your scorecard?
116, 115 for Pacquiao.
Fuck's sake.
To be fair, the way the media were looked after, they probably watched it on a 10-inch monitor about 4 miles from Las Vegas, so you might have judged it that way.
So is the CNN Philippines getting a nomination?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was going to put them forward for that. I think CJ Ross has got a new job working for CNN in the Philippines.
that was brutal. Like, they had Pacquiao winning pretty wide as well.
116,
so we've got
116, 111.
Yeah, we've got Cloner, we've got Froch, we've got Kevin Mitchell, Brian Jennings, Manny Pacquiao. Oh, I've got Luke Campbell saying that King Lomachenko didn't look great as a professional and that he would beat him pretty easily. So Eddie Hearn, if you're listening, mate, make the fight happen.
Wait, can I just say one more thing about that 116, 111 scorecard? The best part about it is, like, in like a 116, 112 would be the standard score. They found a 10-8 round in there somewhere for Pacquiao.
Yeah, that was round 4.
If you look at the rounds, they gave Pacquiao round. I think they gave him 9, 10, 11, and 12. Which there's just no. They did print their scorecard as they went along to justify, what where they were getting from. Normally you get 1 or 2 weird ones, but oh god, that was 116, 111.
Shocking scorecard. Carter, who gets your nomination, mate?
The Cobra.
I've got a late nomination, by the way, a late entry, should I say, from our mate Kasim. He just posted this to me on Twitter. This is from Felix Baumgartner, you know, the guy who jumped from that balloon in space or whatever.
Red Bull man, yeah.
Yeah, Red Bull man, he the longest jump. Apparently he was watching the fight and he thought, to share his opinion on the fight, his expert opinion. He says, what a shame. The judges must have watched another fight to come up with that decision. Pacquiao was moving forward 85% of the fight and landed a lot more punches on Mayweather. What a bad day in boxing history. Keep the spirit, Manny. You are the fighter of the century.
Who said that?
Felix
Baumgartner.
Don't know who he is.
Did he hit his head on the way down?
Oh, he must have lack of oxygen, I think. He's up too high.
Do you remember that it was like last year or the year before? He was that guy who jumped out of the big balloon. It was in space and he landed. It was the longest fall or whatever.
I think he never landed in the fucking moon and stayed there, making comments. Any other nominations?
Manny Pacquiao saying he won the fight.
Yeah, we've got that one.
Was that on there? Yeah,
that's on there, aye.
That's a shocker. To be fair, the fight week there was quite a few, but it's all going to be a bit redundant because I think we all know who's going to win.
Yeah. So that being the case, then, Kurt, who's getting your vote this week?
The Cobra.
Gonzo. Donnie.
I got to go with Adrian Broner. I like that. We'll do it at Wellington.
that is a beller. Paul.
I'm going to go for Frotch, but a slightly different one. In one of the build-up shows, when he was sat outside the MGM, he managed to mention the Wembley fight 6 times in 8 minutes, which is just staggering how he managed to get it. It's like he almost had a challenge to get it into every single question he was asked.
He must do it to wind us up because he must know.
Oh, he does. Eddie Hearn said that. Eddie Hearn said he just does it to annoy people, but he's probably trying to cover him. But yeah, Carl Frotch does it for his entire Antics fight week, rocking up in a t-shirt and 3/4 like he's in Malia when everyone else is dressed in suits. And just his general attitude and involvement with that fight for the whole week, Frotch easily wins it for me.
Frotch. Steve?
Well, as stupid as Broner is, I'm going to let him off on that geographical error because I could see myself getting cities and towns and arenas in America just as wrong. So I will go for Frotch as well. I think you have to give it to him.
Alex, my vote might not be required this week, mate.
Yeah.
Down to you.
I've got to go with Gonzo, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I need to go with Gonzo as well. So, you know what to do, guys. Get tweeting out, like Gonzo Frotch know that he has won the Belly of the Week award this week. Congratulations, sir. Hey, next week, guys, I don't know if there's anything else you want to discuss about Saturday or anything like that, but we've got some fights coming up next week. Mainly, there's a card from Japan.
Great card from Birmingham as well, isn't it, Paul?
Aye. Takahashi Yoshiyama faces Jomthong Chutawatna for the WBA Super Featherweight title. We've got nothing on the Friday night. Nothing on the Friday night, I don't think. I think Amir Mansour faces off in some heavyweight fight. But Saturday, Felix Sturm faces off Fedor Chudinov for an interim WBA trinket. Kurt's man, Husmia Hasegawa, he returns back to the ring in Japan at some point. That was a shocker, Kurt. Now, this great card from Wembley Arena, actually, this is going to be getting us off our asses. Bradley Skeet against Brunette Zamora. Frankie Buglione and Lee Markham and Mitchell Smith, the guy who claims he would beat Lomachenko, places off against Christian Palama.
Fireworks.
Can't wait for that card.
That's all I can say about that card.
Can't wait.
7
Sky card
for that one.
Sky card, Kurt. Do we really want to discuss this card next week?
I'll be there.
Have we got a toilet flushing?
Yeah, I'll be there on a Triple P press pass duty, and yeah, it's not the best. At least they've got some opponents in now. They're still waiting for opponents for Gamal, but Sam Eggington against Joseph Lamptey, who fought in the prison canteen
Warrior graduate.
In Accra. Matthew Macklin against Ferenc Albert. I'll let you all go and Google his name now. Obviously, the main event is Anthony Joshua in an 8-rounder against Rafael Zambano Love. It's not the Callum Smith's on there against Oleg Fedotovs. And I'm saying these like I'm asking the question because I've not heard of.
He's fighting Oleg Fedotovs against Callum Smith.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
To step back, because this guy's been beat off Stephen Hartle, that Fegan Boots and stuff as well. He's not a really good fighter. Rocky Fielding beat him.
they're bringing Fedotovs over here years ago. I was going to say, even I think on the old Brian Peters card, he's been going for ages.
Yeah, Andy Lee.
I think in fact, it's a good chance for Sam Egginton, because I mean Sam Egginton's a good TV fighter. He's always good to watch. I think he puts a beating on Ramsey.
They should have made the Van Heerden. It's just
this show.
Sense.
The only reason the show is going is because they've put a lot of the East Side boxing lads like Rooney, Cook, and big Lennox Clark. Lennox Clark's actually quite a decent fighter, and they've shifted a lot of tickets. So the show was never going to get binned when they lost the Gavin fight. And to be fair, the Gavin Van Heerden fight, I said when it was made, stylistically was horrendous. I think it could have been a dreadful fight. And, everyone will go happy. Anthony Joshua will blow this guy away in a round. Callum Smith will knock his guy out. And Egginton's fight will probably be quite decent. So it'd be interesting to see what Macklin's like as well coming back. But it looks like Brian Rose has fallen off the card. It doesn't look like he's going to be there on Saturday.
Where is it taking place? Is it at the the National Indoor Arena?
Yeah. So they've done
the NIC.
Yeah, they've redone the Barclay Card Arena now, and it's a big old venue. I mean, it holds up to 10,000 people. So they really went for it. And obviously, the first show that Matchroom have put on in Birmingham, and it's the first main arena show since the Magnificent Seven that Birmingham's had. So it's just a shame they've absolutely ballsed it. And you look at that card, and it's
pressure for this ball.
Really. Yeah, I'll be there, mate. So I'll slag it off on here, then I'll make my apologies in my emails tomorrow, and I'll be there on Saturday.
I remember about 20 years ago going to watch Gladiators at that place.
I did as well.
Did you go as well?
I went as well. Yeah.
It's a Midlands rite of passage. You have to go to see Gladiators at the NIA. Is it worth it?
I was a big Wolf fan. I had to go.
The Wolf.
Fucking
the Wolfman.
And
Bad bastards. Anyways, we've got two big cards coming up from Texas next week. The first one on CBS. Omar Figueroa returns from injury, faces off against Ricky Burns, and Jimmy McDonnell will face Tomoki Kameda, who I believe dumped the WBO bantamweight title, so it's not any of that unification stuff, even though WBA title isn't recognised. And Anthony Mundine faces off against Austin No Doubt Trout. I imagine that's going to be the shittiest fight on that card, actually.
Hopefully Mundine gets sparked out.
Trout might act to excite some people.
And there isn't really much on the other card in Texas from Houston, actually. We've got Rodrigo Guerrero on it. We've got Joshua Clottey, Frankie Gomez against Humberto Soto. But Saul Alvarez, this is going to be the fight next week. Saul Alvarez against James Kirtland. I suppose the question is going to be: Is Kirtland going to be the same fighter without Ann Wolfe in the corner, and especially after her boot camps, guys? How would you see this fight going the distance? That's the main thing, I suppose.
They say that Kirkland's been training hard, though. They say that I don't know. That's just what I've heard. But apparently, I know there's no substitute for her kind of camp, especially to be ready for the kind of fight that he needs to fight. Kirkland likes to go to war, and if he's gonna fight that way, you need to train yourself to the absolute limit. And maybe Ann Wolfe's the only one that can provide that. But he looks good, and they the reports out of his camp are positive. So I wouldn't completely count him out. He always has that that big punch as an equalizer. So it's with or without Ann Wolfe, I'm going to be looking forward to the fight. But I do kind of wish he was there.
I can see a stoppage. I can't. If Canelo. Or if James doesn't really turn up, Canelo's just going to smash him about and likely stop him in the middle rounds, I think. But if Kirkland shows up, his biggest chance of victory is to obviously stop Canelo. We've seen, Canelo's got a pretty decent chin, I'd say. James would test that if he's, on form. I want to be supporting Kirkland in this. I'm a big fan of his. He's a mental bastard. He's, the sort of guy that I watch boxing for. But, I think Canelo will handle him.
Paul, Steve, Kurt, you want to weigh in with your thoughts for this fight? You just want to talk about any other fights like Figueroa, Burns, McDonnell, Kameda?
I think Canelo's going to stop him early. I really do. I don't think Kirkland's got the chin to stand up to Canelo's firepower. I think he's going to come forward, try and make it exciting and try and stop him, but he's just going to get clipped and he's not going to get up, in my opinion. It's going to be like a 3-round, war.
And the good thing is it gives an excuse to watch the Ishida fight again, because that was one of the most hilarious minute and a half of boxing you're ever going to see when Ishida sparked Kirkland. That was brilliant.
That was a good one. But everyone goes on about Kirkland's chin being bad, obviously, and all that. But can Kirkland hurt Canelo, does anybody think?
I think Kirkland could hurt anybody.
Yeah, he punches
He
hard
can,
enough.
can't he? You know what I mean?
I've
He hits that hard. I think he can.
I've seen Cotto hurt. I'm talking about the brother Cotto. Actually, he actually hurt Alvarez badly in their fight. Actually, with a left hook.
He did.
He sagged something bad in that fight. He had to hold on to try and get himself through it. I think his chin's okay. I mean, okay, Mayweather didn't have the power to fuck him up totally. But as I say, Kirkland. I mean, look what he did to Angulo.
Do you know what I think the fight might be like, Andy? I think it might be like the Angulo fight, only Kirkland's Angulo this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be.
It'll be interesting to see if he can land that. What really set a tempo in that Angulo fight? Remember, right in the first round, just early doors, he landed a left hook. It was fucking beautifully delivered. And say to myself, Christ, if he lands that against Kirkland, who's maybe his chin's not the greatest, I wouldn't be surprised to see him fold early doors. But I think we're looking at a war here, and I think. Be interesting to see how Kirkland's body holds up as well. See if he's maybe got glass ribs.
And people talk about Anne Wolf, but they talk about how he needs her in a corner. She was in his corner when he fought Carlos Molina, and Molina absolutely easily was beating him until the bullshit disqualification.
That was a DQ victory.
And she had no clue to the tactics that Molina was pulling. She was just telling him to go out there and fight or whatever. But I just think he's obviously wanting something different, and I think you got to say fair play for him for trying something new.
But there's no blueprint for Carlos Molina. Hello.
Well, we didn't know bad actually getting that back up to 2 hours, but any of you guys want to briefly touch upon, the Burns or the McDonnell fight?
I have to go right about now, but I will just say that I don't think Ricky Burns should be counted out, even though he is shot, because
I don't think he's shot. I don't think he's shot.
He's just awful. He's the most overrated fighter in boxing.
Oh.
Ouch.
It's harsh,
See Burns getting knocked out.
I mean, what? That Belmonte's guy that he fought made him look like a clown, and I mean, all he did was...
Talking about Figueroa, not
Hang on, I
Burns.
thought you were talking... Who are you talking about?
You're talking about Figueroa, not Burns.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I said even though Burns is shot, I wouldn't count him out. But because Figueroa is the most overrated fighter in boxing, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, Belmontes threw that fight away.
Belmontes did throw it away, but I mean, all he did was just execute a simple game plan of lateral movement, and Figueroa was completely befuddled. And I mean, I think that Ricky Burns, although he is kind of shot and well past his best, I still think has a chance in that fight if he has any of the skills that he basically came up with, because Figueroa is terrible. I mean, he's just waiting to be exposed by somebody, and I think that they're taking the Burns fight on the theory that he's shot, and if Ricky can turn back the clock even just halfway, then he's got a very good chance.
I think Figueroa is going to knock Burns out in about 6 rounds.
We'll wait and see. But anyway, if it goes a distance and it is tight, he's not going to get the nod on the card, Burns, anyway. And McDonnell, I think he's going to get outboxed. I think it's going to be a chess match of some sort, and Cameda's going to rely upon that Mexican training in the old gyms down in Tijuana or wherever it was he trained and stuff, and probably just work him to the body, etc. I don't think McDonnell's got the power to knock him out. I really don't. And I think that's it, really. So we need to be busy getting up next week. I think last night's basically ended the careers of myself and Kurt staying up over 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. in the morning now for future fights and stuff, because
I think we've got to join Casual Steve and doing what he do. Never stay up no more.
Hey, I tell you what, I did stay up because you see you lot on that frigging Skype. All my phone was just going all the time until I had the sense to frigging turn it off.
I got sent home an hour early from work today because I was that tired. They just said you may as well just go home. So it was worth staying up.
Well, that's good. Well, nothing else on the minds, guys. I think I will just leave it at that. I'd like to thank Kurt Ward, Donny Baseball, Paul Webb, Steve Wellens, Alex Morris, serving your host Andy Patterson. I'd like to thank all the callers, especially the ones calling in from Vegas, all the Twitter questions, and all you guys on Mixlr. We'll be back next week. I don't know if Kurt and Matt will be back with a few short news outbreaks and stuff like that over the course of the week. Don't know what's happening with this Thursday show yet with Matty D. We need to get him to chase that one up. But we'll definitely see you next Sunday. All the best. Catch you later.
Man, he got robbed. Rematch or retire.
Gonzo!
When's